Never mind.
It is.
Killed it.
It is full screen.
I know. I was like, wow, that surprised me. I was like, I can see everybody and I can see myself, which isn't the best, but whatever. Let's go.
Sorry.
69 Camaro.
I thought you were telling me to put it full screen. I was like, it's literally full screen.
It's already full screen. It can't full screen anymore.
Hey, welcome back to the Challenge Fandom Podcast.
Oh my gosh.
Bet you didn't know they were full screen.
Yeah. Hopefully you've got us full screen, or maybe not. Or if you're listening to Spotify, welcome back.
No screen. There's no screen.
Just saying. Got myself, Ricky Hayes, my beautiful wife, Corrina Hayes. We've got Tony, Stats and Info Lance. We've got Katie, Cardigan, Pahura.
Ooh.
Yeah, I went deep on
I
that
almost
one.
wore my cardigan today.
And then we have a very special guest returning with us to help break down this episode. We've got Jacob, the challenge historian, Hollabaugh.
Yay!
Woo.
Nailed it. There you go, Rick. 2 for 2. Cardigan reference, proper last names. Whoa, start we're off to here.
Right?
Good to be back.
You know what? Good thing Josh wasn't here for the motherfucking chambers, because I feel like that would have gotten me going too fast. And
You're already revved up. Yeah, we didn't need to hit those last RPMs. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. I wish Josh was here. He's got some stuff he's dealing with. We miss him. Hope he's doing good. Same
Love
with
you,
Corey.
Yep.
But
and
with that being-
Alexis.
Oh yeah,
is
and
in.
Alexis. Oh my God, we have so many people here. I can take a night off.
So anyway, Alexis is actually not joining us tonight because tomorrow, Saturday, she will be at Mania in Indy. So by the time you guys hear this, is already going to be over. But we did put something up. So hopefully if you were at Mania, you went around and you found Alexis and said hi, took a picture, whatever, because she is really, really excited to be there at this one and to hopefully meet some of you guys. So hopefully you guys went out and said hi. But anyway, yeah, so
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Lots of exciting stuff going on.
We miss you, Tex.
We do. I miss her.
That's such a great nickname.
I love it.
I just wanted to talk to her about the yellow cuff. The leather cuff. Where did yellow come
I
from?
saw that and I was just like, oh,
The leather cuff.
it wasn't Brad.
It's not written. Sorry, Corrina. They weren't CT's legs.
They weren't at all.
No, in the preview was,
It probably was.
but it was not CT. No.
That's why I don't like making judgments on the intros, because they're just so chopped up. It's like, oh, look, those are Tori's hands, but that's Brad's beard, yet CT's legs. Who is this?
I would like to point out that when, like, on the next time on, as they're like doing a slow pan up, they stopped right before beard level. And you're like, oh, who could it be?
Oh, I wonder.
I was waiting for Corrina to be like, that's CT's abdomen.
I didn't.
I've seen him before.
That's his neck.
I didn't even get to watch the next time on.
I didn't either. So, Jacob, you're joining us for our once a season, joint recap. And I want to ask you, we're probably, I'm assuming, right around a little bit past the halfway mark now.
Are we?
I hope so. I mean, there's 16.
No, we are. I think it's 20 episodes.
I'm thinking 2022, right in that ballpark is.
Including reunion, it might be like 21, 22.
Yeah, something like that. But I wanted to say, what's your impression of this season so far?
So if you would have asked me 3 weeks ago, I would have had a very different answer. My answer is twofold. One, I did a big rant a week and a half ago on my podcast about how all the people that just hate watch this show or hate comment on this show for the 12th season in a row should just go away.
Yeah.
I would really like that. That's my number one thing every season now, is just like wading through all of the people that'll never give any credit for anything. But if I put that to the side, up until about 3 weeks ago, I loved this season. I was all in. I was super excited coming into the season. I was all about, for the most part, the format, the concept. For seasons after season and year after year, they've needed to do something where they try, whether it fails or not, then maybe the show finally fails for real. But like, they needed to try to actually create new stars, create new storylines, create new anything that isn't just, well, CT's still here, so like, you guys still like him, right? And like, we do, but like, he's pretty old, and for the show's sake and everything else. And so I was loving it. Everything was great. And now I will say the Champs gimmick has just really has dampened it quite a bit for me because I don't think they should have done it. And I think they didn't ruin the season by any means because I'm still having a really good time with it. But they made it really divisive where everyone falls on one opinion or the other about the champ element of it all. And neither one of them is, it's really just comes down to the gimmick as they made it was never going to work. There wasn't a right way to do it. And it's kind of leaving me where it's like fun that they're there at the end of every episode, but it's kind of not doing what they hoped. It's kind of only making that people complain about the eliminations. And then while at the same time being like, well, Cara ate and Laurel ate. Everyone just says, I'm so old. I don't know all these terms and stuff, but everyone just says ate. I guess Cara ate like ate so much during this episode according to Twitter. But we're not actually creating the new stars either. Instead, it's like more people dislike Michele now because they're comparing her to Laurel and Cara, or dislike whoever because they're comparing them to these champs coming in. And so we could talk more about when we talk about the elimination, I'm sure later, but I think the champs element, there wasn't a right way for them to do it. And I don't think they should have done it because of that. But outside of it, I really love the cast. I have a much higher opinion of most of the cast members than it seems general consensus is, with a couple glaring differences where I have a pretty negative opinion about one or two that may be different on those as well, that some people maybe really like, and I really don't care for it all. But I'm sure we'll discover who those names are throughout this episode.
It's going to be a great venture. I mean,
this is going to be a fun episode for us all.
I'm nervous.
Like I was telling Rick, is like, if you really think about it, there's not a whole lot to really talk about for the actual daily or the elimination. This was a very House Alliance, power shifting type of
it's the best episode.
And so
it was so good.
I'm excited for this one.
And I want to add on to Jake's point. I think they could have covered a lot of the conceptual mistakes that they made of this season by giving these champs eliminations that were geared to them, like Jordan got, like Devin got. Like, you don't give Laurel a puzzle, give her pole wrestle.
Don't give Cara a puzzle. Jesus.
Give her, a physical or an endurance-based elimination. If you're going to pay fan service by bringing these champs in to up your ratings, at least give us what we want to see. I don't want to see Cara in a puzzle. Like, it's just, no. Like,
well, and it makes me wonder, like, did they do it on purpose? Like, because her and Laurel's, they were oddly similar to things we know that they didn't do great at. So did they purposefully set it up this way? Was it just like Corrina said I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, but like not knowing the order of which Merc was coming in, and was it luck of the draw? Did they plan it? I have questions.
Yeah, it feels like a very fine line between to be the best, you have to beat the best, and we want to make the new cast comparable to the legends. So here are the legends in eliminations that they're not as swift at, and here's the people that are going to beat them. So,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that was basically it. Other than the fact that, like, yes, Michele was helped, but she was helped from people that were at a vantage point that you could actually see the puzzle better. So I'm not saying that there's an issue with being helped. Like, everybody has been helped throughout the history of the challenge.
Forever. Yeah.
I just mean like to be able to see the puzzle at a different angle is beneficial.
She got help. I mean, and I don't think anybody's going to deny that. Just like, Ravyn got help last week with Laurel.
Yeah.
But if we're going to start like discounting that, then we have to discount every fucking elimination in the history of the challenge.
Yeah, everybody's going to help people who are in elimination to save them $10,000. Nobody's going to say, I hope you do well. Yeah. I'm going to stand over here quietly. I'll wait until you're done. Kudos. Do the best you can.
She did say on the MTV's podcast that she didn't need the help. People were yelling to help, and she didn't need the help. She needed help with rolling the boxes.
Well, people yelled how to do it, so.
Yeah. Well, I'm listening to it. I was like, oh, but you did. So.
Someone should have taken the opportunity and helped Cara, though, because that's what really, if you wanted to actually like make a name for yourself, it would be fucking cool if you walk to the other end of the dais and you're like, I want Michele to go home. Screw it. Like, here you go, Cara. I'll help you out.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I want us to get into the show and actually start going about it as we give detail. But before we do that, I know Katie wants to give a shout out.
Oh, yeah. Yes, when we did our live the other day, I was very nervous and I was not looking at any of the names or comments coming up because I've never done it before. So I was like, I'm just not going to look at it. I'm just going to go off of Corrina and Rick because that makes me feel safe. and my client, Amy, she is one of my favorite clients. She's one of my favorite people. She's a longtime challenge fan and she listens and she popped on and she said hi. So giving her a little shout out.
Thank you so much, Amy. That's freaking awesome. We appreciate the support. And that's awesome that you had somebody like, at least, I know you didn't notice her in there, but on your first live, like you said, you were nervous and stuff like that. So it's always nice to know, like, that people are supporting what you're doing. So that's awesome. Major shout out, Amy. Thank you. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And it still kind of gets me when people are like, oh yeah, we listen to you. It's like, why?
Right.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Do you need help with your decision making?
We're challenge fans.
Don't give it away.
I'm not. That's all. That's all I got. Because I'm saving that one I put in.
Yeah, that one I'm not letting out till we're ready to drop because then everybody's gonna want to.
It's gonna be so good.
Yeah.
we should involve Jacob.
Oh yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind that, but just not on the air.
Podcast. I got hive mind.
Yes.
Secondary hive mind, but first
instinct.
But it doesn't mean
the boys that are regretting adding me on after all. I'm going to see myself out now.
No, it's going to be great when you and Alexis are on with Corrina and you guys start really going at it and me and Tony just sit on the sidelines and
Rick and I will be texting back and forth.
Exactly. We'll just be like, I wonder if they thought of this yet.
Oh my God.
Anyways, with that being said, what we have thought of is getting into this episode of which is episode 12, A Legend Returns. No foreshadowing at all.
None. No foreshadowing at all. However, I will say this might be their best title all season long.
This might be their best title in the last 2 or 3 seasons. Talking about
simple,
World Champions and USA 2.
Yeah, simple, straight to the point. I like it.
Yeah.
Short is not like a whole story. As the title,
I get to add so much to my made up title.
You get to write the story this week.
I know. I'm excited. So, anyways, we get right into the intro with
well, there's a few things that happened before this, but
let's go. Well, the only thing that really is important to us that we're going to talk about is Olivia is talking about how she's feeling a certain way about not living up to the fans' expectations of her.
Yeah, when she's sitting in the bed.
And, and I don't know what she thinks her expectations are. Like, we all consider her a badass for what she did in those eliminations. But I mean, I also don't look at Olivia necessarily like I look at Laurel. Like, you know what I mean? I think there's so much to be proven, but I get her. We see it with every season, these people getting almost like imposter syndrome at a certain point throughout the season.
That's exactly it.
You know what I mean?
It makes me so sad for her because I'm like, I don't think that about her at all. Like, I can't imagine what it's like being in that house in general and the mind trip that it is. And then if you aren't actually winning, I can't imagine what you go through.
Oh, yeah. Well, and here's my thing. It's like, I get where she's coming from because there were already so many people from last season who were, saying like, Horacio's carrying her and they're getting too much help from the audience to win all their eliminations and, all that stuff. And then there was the other side of it, which we also see again later in this episode where, people are like, actually, Olivia is the one who's kind of carrying Horacio because she has the social game. She's the one keeping them going in the game, outside of the actual challenges. And then on top of that, we had that moment in that, what is that? The double-decker hall brawl, where she just absolutely murdered Ravyn in there, and then like
R.I.P. her feet.
R.I.P. her feet on the cheese grater floors. Yeah. But I think that just, from all the things that she was able to accomplish last season, and how much fans just absolutely loved her. And even down to the point where like somebody made her a pair of shoes that said Barbie Beast on them and sent them to her. Yeah. And then it was like a whole big thing with the fans on whether or not she's allowed to be called Barbie Beast because we already have our Barbie Beast, and like just all this stupid shit, right? But still, that's a lot of pressure to get from, you know, a bunch of strangers who are watching you compete athletically on a TV show. So
I hate the saying that someone carried someone else in a pair season. Like, let's be honest, would have Olivia went 3-0 last season in eliminations without Horacio? Maybe not.
Probably not.
Probably not. Would have Horacio gone into a lot more eliminations if it wasn't for Olivia?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Immediately.
They helped each other. You know what I mean?
I have a dissenting opinion on that last part.
Okay, let's hear it.
Laurel was attempting to sleep with Horacio, and Jordan was attempting to be Horacio's best friend. And so he had some social capital in the house with Jordan, and Laurel didn't like. Jordan was a little bit in on like running up the part of the group that was running things. Laurel was sometimes wasn't. Was when Michele wasn't in power, basically. So he had social capital based off being incredibly good looking and an incredible athlete, because that's what attracted Laurel and Jordan to him. You know,
that's true.
Each one. But yeah, I feel bad that part for Olivia, I feel horrible for, and I empathize for. And you add into it also, it's not just fans and the people in the house, it's production, because they know like me and Horacio are being asked to like film all the stuff. Like all the clips they keep putting out through the season, or even the commercial that plays every episode of the mental health commercial that they filmed at the same time. It was Cara and Darrell for the champs, and Horacio and Olivia for like the contenders were the people like, hey, you guys are like we film extra stuff with you. You're the like spokespeople of the season or whatever.
The face,
so they have stuff like that, even all the way down to she's at every Challenge Mania for the last year, like legitimately almost every single one of them, including one I was at, which maybe shades my opinions of Olivia a little bit. So there's from every corner, she is definitely having that put on her of like, you're supposed to kind of be one of the new people that does this thing, and that's what this whole season's about. So I can see why she would then be like, I need to live up to that. So in that way, I definitely empathize and I feel for her. When we talk about the part about her and Horacio later is maybe where I don't.
And that's the thing too. Like, I look at it as far as my expectation of Olivia coming into this game. I basically expected her to have a really strong social game, to compete when she has to, but otherwise to sort of like hang back a bit, because last season put a huge target on her back. And because she has a good social game, I kind of anticipated her trying to not be in the limelight as much as possible, especially if people want, like, the whole season is to have a new champ. And you don't want the people that in some fans' minds only lost because they were medically DQ'd in that final. So like, her best option is to do a CT and hide behind the wallpaper.
Well, I think that's everybody's like ideal gameplay, right?
Well,
and there's counter thoughts that we hear from the cast, and we'll get into that as we get down the road. Another thing I wanted to ask about is, what do you guys think about Orange Shirt saying whether or not you win a daily challenge is not indicative of whether you can win the whole thing? You only need to win the thing that matters, which is the end.
Yeah, I'm curious. What do you guys think? Do daily challenge wins matter?
I don't remember a season where a champ didn't win at least 1 or 2 dailies.
If you can't win a daily, how are you gonna win a final?
And I know we've got the right guest on to ask this one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a little
spot check
to double check. That's an interesting question.
I think that it's beneficial to win dailies, because winning dailies gives you power in the game, which keeps you around longer. It makes you make difficult decisions, though. So it's kind of like, shocking that I'm going to use a Survivor analogy.
What?
I know.
You? Never.
It's shocking, I know, but it's like when you have like a family visit reward challenge. You want to be the person that gets picked. You don't want to be the person who wins, because the person who wins has to make the decision of who sees their family and who doesn't. So when you win a daily, yes, you have the power, but it's a lot better if somebody else in your alliance gets the power. You know you're safe, but you don't have to get blood on your hands. And if you can win a daily, like if you can win a final, cool. And you can hide for the dailies. If that's going to work for you, then that's cool. I don't see it happening. I think that you need to have power at least once or twice, because there are going to be points in this game, especially because it goes as long as it does now, that you're going to question your alliance and you're not going to want to put your fate in the game in their hands. You're going to want to be in control. Like, case in point, if Michele would have won this daily, there's no way that she could have been called down.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say was, I'm pretty sure if you asked anyone, hey, do you want to win all the dailies this season? They're going to be like, yeah, because that means I'm fucking safe every
all
week.
Season. Yeah.
You know, so ideally you want to win dailies, but you know, I do see the idea of like in certain situations, yeah, it's better not to get blood on your hands. And CT's talked about that. I know we reference him obviously quite a bit, but you know, where he's like, you know, I don't really want to make this decision because it's going to result poorly on me by whoever I pick to go in. And I don't really have any bad feelings for anyone kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
Well, to speak to that quickly, CT, though, it depends on who you are in the game, whether you should want to win the dailies or not and take the risk of pissing people off that you throw in, because like a CT also has the other side of it takes a lot for someone to say my name and throw me in. They don't want to do that because they know if I try my best, I can win a lot of dailies. I'm probably going to win eliminations, and you just don't want me as an enemy versus someone where like, you know, a Michele, for instance, even though she, you know, does get the win over Cara in this episode, is looked at as someone who might not have a great elimination record if you threw her in over and over and over again. And so she's probably much more on the end of, I'll take the power, I'll take people disliking me because I'm a little too nervous about getting thrown in to an elimination. So it kind of matters where your standing is. Personally, they matter to me as far as my estimation of how good you are, depending on what type of, you know, the daily is. Some of them matter a little more than others. Some of them translate to a final more than others. But obviously, as the king of the Fessy fan club, daily wins matter a lot. Okay, let's just say that.
Let's be upfront.
But for your history question, I went straight to two seasons that I thought would be the closest and probably are without going through all of them. The first one I thought of was Darrell and Aviv on Fresh Meat, who won 2 out of 15 dailies because Coral and Evan won 7 of the first 8 before they were almost dragged to the hospital, almost dying in Evan's case. So that was close, but the biggest one that I thought they didn't win a single one, but they won 1 out of 14 was Ashley and Hunter. Did not perform well in the dailies. And it wasn't even that they didn't win. They actively did not perform well in dailies the whole season. And neither of them, Ashley is the weirdest, like 3-time winner, not 2-time winner, 3-time winner, whatever. Of like, she's like not that good at dailies or eliminations. So she's probably most what Michele is speaking to in this moment. I don't think Ashley's all that good at dailies or eliminations. But she's really good at a final, and that doesn't totally make sense, but it's true. And Hunter is somewhat similar. He's decent in the like really physical eliminations, but otherwise not great. And a lot of the dailies isn't always that great. He's just really good at eating, and he can carry stuff, and that's half of the final. And so in a partner final, that worked out really well for them up until that very last little moment where it didn't work out so well for him. But God bless him, because I'm on his side in that one. But yeah, so that's to answer your history question. I'm guessing that's the least any winner has been a part of, because I checked all the individual seasons, and like Cara won some, Jody and Wes on Duel won some. Pretty much all the individual seasons. The person who won at least won a couple of the dailies, which is impressive when they're mostly individuals anyways. It's a little harder to win versus the team or pairs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
100%, yeah. I like Michele because she makes great TV, and I'll use her real name right now because I'm going to give her a little bit of a compliment and a
Purple
shit
jacket?
sandwich too. Yeah, orange shirt.
If you like the shirts from either of the last week, she did tweet out links or Instagram stories, links to both of them. Yeah.
I appreciated that one of them was a Rickroll.
That is actually really great. I love that so much. I like her because she makes good TV. But as far as like working with her in the game, I just couldn't do it.
I couldn't either.
She's overly paranoid. She's overly almost confident on her social game. But it's really like, I don't see a great social game. I see you in the game with a lot of people that you have previous connections with and are friends with.
Or pregame.
Or you are friends with Jay, and Jay's friends with a lot of people on this season.
Just
you know what I mean?
Some of the comments that she makes and like the way she makes them like would bother me if I was in the game, if I was like working with her. And when she makes those little comments like, well, it's my money anyway, I'd be like, bitch, watch me kick you out this house right now and see whose money it is. Like, what are you talking about? Shush it.
She's good at reality TV.
Oh, yeah.
She really is.
She made it through 2 seasons of Survivor to the end. So she wasn't voted out at all. And I think what's funny is her being good and getting to that point twice made her so paranoid when she hit this house and the game is totally different. Because, like we always say, Survivor, you get voted out and you're out. Here, if you're voted out, you then have to take on somebody else to stay in. And like, if my game was based around, I don't want to be there, and then I get put into a position of, even if I do end up there, I have to do another thing first, then I would also be paranoid.
I don't know. It'll take me in a long tangent, so I'm going to avoid this one.
To preface, I also find it like tedious. I am not defending the fact that she's paranoid. I'm saying I can see why she's paranoid.
I think what Corey said later on in the episode, and I'll talk about that later, is spot on. But go ahead.
Oh, no, you're fine. Go.
Oh, I was just going to say, I know Nurys and Kylan had a little bit of a conversation about how friends and people who have your back can be
different. And I think this goes for me, this related
Words
back. And we some of us, obviously not all of us were on this episode, but back to the Corey Lay versus Melissa and Big T thing, where, you know, it was I think the way Corey phrased it is he said, like, I can be your friend and love you and support you in real life and not want to work with you on the show. And I feel like this is the same kind of idea. And I'm just curious, like, how you guys feel about that idea of, you know, can you actually be friends with somebody in this house, but not work with them as part of the game? Like, is that possible to do?
I think if you're friends enough with somebody that you really get to know who they are, like as a person, but also how they would ultimately play a game like this, I think you have to be able to say, like, support you outside the house. I cannot play that game with you. That is not how I play. That is not how I will thrive. So I'm sorry. Best of luck to you. I'll do my best not to say your name in the house, but I can't protect you the same way that I could if you were playing a game that ran parallel.
I've never figured out why people who are actually like good friends outside of this house and then have come on for the first time on seasons, and then they're together the whole time. They're just best of friends in the house, and it automatically creates a fucking target. Why wouldn't you pregame on this and say, look, we're best friends, dude. I got your back. You got my back. We're going to play the whole house, one side of this alliance and the other side of this alliance, if we can make it happen. And that way we're covered on both sides at all times. You know, I've constantly got your back, and that would seem the smarter way to play it for me.
Yeah, you got to pull they weren't best friends by any means, but the only ones to really ever, and they only made it half a season successful, but Wes and Jen with 2 N's, one of the first big crushes of my reality TV life. They on Fresh Meat 2 came in as like, we're friends from previous season. We're gonna work together, but we were gonna talk about this before. And when we get there, you're gonna befriend Kenny, my sworn enemy that I know I'm gonna be going for.
Yep.
And you're gonna be like a mole, and I'm gonna protect you, but in secret. So like, you're never gonna come up in this side of the alliance, but like, we have to get in other sides of the alliance and then talk late at night when no one finds out and share some info and whatnot. Yep. And eventually it came out by, 2/3 through the season or whatever. But it was really smart and a good strategy. And in this house, the only one that is kind of like that I'm still confused off of is Asaf and Jay.
Yeah.
Do people not know that they're...
I don't get it.
We're watching the edit. And they're telling us
like...
they're best friends. We see them on social media now after this, everything. But like, they weren't on social media together every day before this season, but like they were known friends, I thought. Yeah. And so are they hiding it that well?
They might not have been on social media every day before this season, but they were definitely on social media together before this season. So I'm just confused. Like, nobody pays attention to their cast?
Yeah, like we interviewed Jay and he said that he was actively making music with Asaf.
Yeah.
Like, I realized that they don't do pregame by by listening to all of our unplugged.
They fucking should.
They should, because we have all the details. Clearly. If they watched the Jay interview, they would know that he's cool with Asaf.
Yeah.
And then the Fantastic Four would have been kaput. But instead, running the house.
Yep,
Look,
exactly.
I'm just saying, you guys can get a lot of insight, challengers, by listening to our Unplugged episodes. People talk more than they think they do. Just putting that out.
You can't stop, drop, and open up shop all by yourself.
Yeah, exactly. DMX. Sorry, I just Walter Math out.
Anyway, so also while Kylan and Nurys are having this discussion, Kylan is telling Nurys like that he feels like Jay and Michele, Olivia, like side of things is kind of like drifting away. And it cuts to a confessional from Nurys where she says, that she came into this game having Kylan and Horacio's back, as well as Jay and Michele and Olivia's back, and that she is not going to choose sides. I am curious what you guys think about this and how is this going to work out for her? You are literally coming down to the wire where those are the only people left in the game. So how are you going to get through the next potentially 5-6 episodes without making a choice?
I feel like so here's my opinion on this, and I could be completely off base, which wouldn't be unnatural. But I think that comment was her calling back to before she was in a relationship with Horacio. I think Horacio very much changes that dynamic because, as soon as she found out that Horacio's team won, she's like, well, at least I know he's safe and I don't have to. She doesn't really, she's not going to vote for Jay, but I don't think if it came down to it, she would be like, Jay's got to go. I want Horacio here.
That's fair.
I feel like it's very similar to like the Mariah and James situation. Like Mariah, if it's down to a guy's day and it's James or someone else in her alliance, she's saving James.
Yeah. Right.
But not the ladies. She's definitely willing to vote for all them ladies that she's supposedly in alliance for, and they're helping push her that way. And
yes.
I've been waiting all season. This episode, in the kind of rift that we start to see between Nurys and Olivia, especially, I stay far away from the spoilers as best I can. And this season I've been completely, I'm completely clean, I guess would be one way to say it, from them. But there are some things that you can't stay away from if they're like relational stuff. And it is very well known that those two ladies don't get along very well post-show. And so I've been waiting all season of like, is this just going to be a blow up and there's like a Horacio element to it? Or is there going to be a blow up, a Horacio element to it? And then like someone voted someone in element to it too, which I really hope there is, because that sounds fun. And so I think Nurys is definitely, she's like, look, if I'm only aligned with enough guys that could go to a final with me. Yeah. And that's fine. If I lose the Horacio, like that's going to be my money. He's going to be gone for 8 months filming Exalt on. I'll get that money when it hits his bank account. No problem. But I'm friends with all these girls. We can't all go to the final. So I think she's down. If it came to it, she'd vote Michele. She'd vote Olivia. She'd vote Mariah. She'd vote anyone in that house on the female side. I think so, she's good with like, if I defend Jay, that'll hopefully keep me defending, all the women he's tied to. And otherwise, I'm really only defending these 3 guys. And that's not too many people.
And it's a pretty smart way to play, in all honesty, because if she saves the right people at the right time, it looks like she's saving everybody all the time. And in reality, you only have to play for this season. You can mend your fences next season, or you can be on a rivals team together next time that they do that.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, you're positioning yourself well. My favorite thing that was said about like anybody talking shit about anybody else was when Mariah was like, I don't know if you realize, but Colleen is pretty sneaky. You know, the person that they chose from a show called The Mole, where she was the mole and she won because she beat everybody else. Yeah, she may be slightly sneaky. Yeah. Bang on, detective. I have feelings about this, apparently.
Just jumping back to what you were saying about Nurys, making like having a good that being a good way to to play with the girls. I want to give her major props. Now, I'm not putting a whole lot of weight into this rumor that is now rumored to be a rumor from going through like 6 different people, including Anissa and all this. I'm not putting a lot of weight into what she was told on the phone. However, I do want to compliment her because like almost anybody else would have came out of that room ready to fight. And she is not saying anything. She's holding this information. She's using it for her game, but she is not like exploding, overreacting. She's not reacting at all to the information she just got. She's playing it cool. She's keeping Olivia on her side. I just feel like she's playing this information she was given, whether it's true or not. I don't know. But I feel like she's playing it really well.
So, and I brings me up to what I was actually going to say when Jacob was kind of talking about the whole situation with Nurys and all that. But to me, I think she plays this game almost better than anyone else in this house, especially the social setting and understanding how the pieces are moving and holding information till the right time. Going back to what you also said, I remember watching a story, and I mentioned this before, was she was at like a promo game at the Oakland Raiders, and she was doing a story, and she showed like the billboard for the challenge, and she's talking about everybody, and she purposely skipped over only one person, that was Olivia. And so I was like, and one of the challenge T pages posted about it, and I was like, oh, I wonder what's going on. And we've been watching the season, and I'm waiting, and finally we get this episode. I'm like, oh, here we go. What the fuck's going to go down? And then she just plays it so smooth, like you said. It's very impressive.
Yes.
Well, also, I feel like she's learning from her past mistakes, because when she was on Are You the One, she's not quite as...
She's the one that's openly talked about going to anger management, right?
Yeah.
Like legit, like not some like, oh, like I went to like, no, like you went to like the real deal stuff for a while.
I think there might have been a reason she had to go, but she's going. So nonetheless, and it's made a difference. We can see it, but you can see she's simmering.
She definitely is.
To wrap that point up, she's also, I'm sure we'll talk about the list, the beautiful list. Colleen is just phenomenal list making later in the episode. But in that core, the 4 people that were in the middle of this thing, 3 of them were then mentioned throughout the episode about like, how can we let this happen? One of them was not, and that was Nurys. No one cares that Nurys is in the middle of everyone. Everyone's like, yeah, of course she is. She's great. Like who doesn't want her there? We're all good with that. The other 3, no. So she's got the strongest position in the house, I think. Pretty cut and dry at this point. It was kind of tied with others until this episode. But at this point, I feel like unless Olivia really gets upset at her and like is like, we all have to vote for Nurys for some reason, I don't think others would even go with it. But like, I don't see any way she isn't just like kind of skating by and like, no one cares that I'm, totally in control.
And that's the thing. It's like, everybody's saying Michele, which Michelle's playing a role. I think she's the glue holding a big part of this alliance together, which is mentioned later on. But Nurys is, I think, the one pulling the strings to all of this, in my opinion. But all right, so I'm really excited to bring up this next point because I think there's been a point of contention between us to the point where Corrina hit me with the agree to disagree. And I was just like, okay.
I also got hit with an agree to disagree today.
Yeah, so... And I feel like we're not going to agree on this. No. And I'm interested to get Jacob and Katie's take on this. So we get the scene of after Nurys is told that Olivia's been talking shit, a rumor of it. Michele asks Nurys how she feels about Horacio hanging with Zara. And, she gives kind of, an answer.
Nurys doesn't give a shit.
She doesn't care. She's got plenty of plutonic.
Nurys is like, I've made out with Cardi B in a music video. Do you think I fucking care about Zara working out next to my man? I don't. Okay?
It took her 2 fucking minutes to say, I already know I'm the hottest bitch here and I don't give a fuck. So.
Literally.
God damn, I should have grabbed this because this is every time I hear this sound, I think about Nurys. But it's that there's like a sound on Instagram. It's from an interview somebody did with Zendaya. And she's like, how hard is it to when you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror, how hard is it to not say, man, these bitches don't even come close? Like, that's Nurys in that moment for me. Okay. Like, she just took a long time to say it.
To me, it's the Ricky Bobby. Well, Cal, I wake up every morning, I just piss excellence. Yeah. I'm just a big, hairy, winning American machine. All right.
Yeah.
And you know what the other part of it is for her? She's like, yeah, you know what? You know why they hang out so much? Horacio works out all fucking day long, and so does Zara.
I don't want
to do that. Exactly. Like, yeah, he can work out with she can work out with him literally 15 hours a day, as long as he comes into the bedroom where I'm at late at night. We have the dinner, we have bed, whatever. I don't want to do any of that. So go do that with her. Yeah, no problem.
So after, Nurys's
it's all one big conversation. Yeah.
Olivia speaks up and says that, she's been feeling some type of way about Horacio and how, he's not giving her equal friendship on this season. And she calls him selfish to Nurys.
He's such a taker and he's selfish. He's such a taker. He just takes. The guy who doesn't talk takes and takes and takes.
Yeah. And then you just see the fucking anger flash over Nurys's face. So she's immediately pissed off because now Olivia is talking smack about her new boo thing. So here's my question. Is it okay to go into a season and be in an alliance with somebody, but not talk to them? Unless that's an agreed upon thing, like what we were talking about earlier. West Jen thing. What are you guys' thoughts on what Olivia is expecting versus what's happening?
You guys were just on a season called Ride or Dies. We've interviewed Horacio. Horacio and Olivia have known each other back in college before any of them were on TV together. Mm-hmm. Olivia still hangs out with Horacio's family. They're friends. Mm-hmm. So I think, to me, it's a little bit of an overreaction because I think in Horacio's heart, he knows he'll never say Olivia and he'll always campaign to keep Olivia off the chopping block. Where Olivia, I think, needs that reassurance from Horacio to let her know that she's still safe with him and he still cares about her. And I get it because he's hanging out with Zara. He's with Nurys all the time or he's working out. But, I think she just went a little bit far with how she was feeling about Horacio with the girl that's in love with Horacio. It was the wrong person to vent to about it, in my opinion. But I see both sides of the story. So I'm going to play the middle ground of this. But my thing is I take some blame towards Olivia, or she's not taking accountability, because if you're really feeling this way and he's your ride or die, why can't you go have the conversation with him? Why is it all on him?
One of my favorite, just lines in general is use your words. Go talk to him. Are they talking? Have they already talked about this? And Horacio's not changing, Olivia's not changing her expectations? Or is she just talking to everyone else expecting that they're going to go tell him oh, you need to go talk to your friend? What's happening? I don't know. I want to know if there's been conversations that just
missing from the story.
Right. There's so much missing. So have they actually had the conversations and we're just not seeing them? I don't know. I feel like there's so much that goes into it.
The other thing too is like Rick said, they've been friends for a really long time. So I also see both sides of it. From Horacio's standpoint, just from what I've seen of Horacio and our conversation with him, he seems to be the type that if it's in his head, then that's it. It's done deal. So if he's been friends with Olivia for so incredibly long, it may be to his detriment. It may be the one person that he feels that he doesn't need to continually check in with, because she, in his mind, she should know that he's never going to say her name, and that he's not going to like campaign against her. He will actively campaign for her. And it was juxtaposed with the like his conversation saying like, I would never say Olivia. And I'm sure that like that's obviously heavily edited, and they went to go find that because they had the contrasting opinion. But by the same token, like if you've known Olivia for that long and that's how Olivia is going to react in a situation, then that's probably how Olivia reacts in a situation. So you should also know that you need to check in with your friend. So it goes both ways. I agree with Katie. Like, I agree with you. Like, Olivia can also go and have that conversation and say, like, look, dude, we're ride or dies. Like, we did the Oreo rolling thing with the mustard and the hot sauce. Like, come on, man. Get off, like, get with the program. And that could be the trigger for Horacio to be like, oh shit, like, I completely dropped the ball on this.
She did say, though, that he didn't call her and tell her that he was going to be on the show. But did you call him and tell him that you were going to be on the show?
To be fair, he was scheduled to be doing that 7-on-7 soccer tournament, and that happened. And then
okay. So it's probably
and then all of a sudden he wasn't on the team. He was listed, but he wasn't playing. And then it was from the cast spoiler, he's on the season. So we don't know the exact circumstance.
Yeah.
I want you to get.
I want to hear Jacob's. I'm going to go last.
Okay.
Because I already know I'm sitting on my own, but I already know that I'm going to rip up every argument you guys are throwing on the table right now. So I'm going to just let all of them lay on the table so I can just rip them up one by one.
Which team are you on your own, Horacio or Olivia?
Olivia.
Oh, damn. Well, you ain't going to like my opinion then. I'm fully team Horacio. Yeah, words go both ways. And
boys, it's because they're boys.
This is a very boy thing. I think Tony was spot on that, like, in Horacio's head, he's like, nothing's changed. So, like, I don't have a reason to talk to you. And so, which could be super duper frustrating. So I understand that she'd be very frustrated with that. But I believe him when he says, like, I would, if like your name came up in an argument, I believe Horacio would sit there and be like, absolutely not. Like, we're not doing that no matter what. And then also, with all the timing stuff, you don't need to call everyone that you're going to be on the season. And then the final part is, we do forget, obviously, Olivia went through some legitimate trauma at the end of last season. But that doesn't mean Horacio also went through some trauma. Not the same kind, because obviously Olivia was the one who had her face smashed by a golf ball and was horrendous. And she's an absolute badass and a warrior for just coming through that in any way. But Horacio, the competitor that he is, the way he is not someone, I'm guessing, that enjoys that he wept on screen on the show at the end of last season and the producer had to come out and hug him and tell him like it was going to be okay, but he couldn't keep competing and everything. And I feel like there's maybe a little bit of him too that is a little bit like distant from her, because he kind of wants to, I did this season with a partner last season, and at no fault of her own or anyone's, it like ended the way it did. And I'm just here to like, I am so focused. I'm such a competitive guy and I love sports. I just want to like do this and be on my own and play and like not really talk almost at all about any of this stuff. I just want to show up and compete and not be told I'm not allowed to compete again, because that was such a traumatic thing for him too. Again, still not comparable to his partner's trauma. That was the cause of then his little bit of trauma. But yeah, it can be super frustrating for her, but I get where he's coming from. This is also shaded by I'm not the biggest fan of hers, and so that's not. But that's not from the show. That's from Challenge Mania.
Corrina's about to like crack her knuckles here in a second. She's just like Corrina's getting ready over here, just like fixing her shirt, getting ready.
All right. So here's my thing. As far as, Horacio and Olivia doing a season together, knowing each other from college, all this stuff. We literally just had a conversation minutes ago about how you can be friends in the house, but not work together. So Olivia being confused about whether or not we're on friendship basis or we're working together because you're not even talking to me on either front is, in my opinion, like unarguable. Like we just had the discussion, number one. And number two, I'm going to tie something together from later in the episode, which I normally don't do, but it applies here. The most messed up part is that she's right. Because we get a conversation later between Horacio and Zara, where he literally tells Zara, I don't think I can work with Olivia, and because we are not working with the same people. So he is having those thoughts. He is straying away from her and not talking to her about this. And yes, conversation does go both ways, but that also includes Horacio. Now, do I think Olivia is completely like faultless in this? No, she should be going to, I agree with you, Katie, that she's using other people to like tell them, and hopefully they'll mention it to him. So then he's like, oh, I got to go talk to it, because she's probably nervous, right? About having that confrontation moment with Horacio. So that part is definitely on her. She needs to buck up and go talk to him. But he needs to be doing the same thing.
That's it's a two-way street.
Because they were working on the same alliance, and he is the one straying away from that alliance now. So to me, it's kind of like, if you're going to stray away, then you should at least like have the courtesy to let somebody know, like, hey, look, we're just not seeing eye to eye on this game anymore. And, you know, I love you. We're still friends. We'll go out to dinner when we get out of here, or like whatever, you know. But I just don't think it's fair to put it all on Olivia, when in actuality, she's 100% right in what she feels is going on. It is going on.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, he literally tells Zara in that same conversation that she's still my fucking ride or die.
Well, no, and I get that, but that's what I'm saying. We just had the discussion between what the difference is between working with somebody and being friends with somebody, right? Like,
but he's applying that to the game, saying that I would never, like, my ride or die means I wouldn't throw her under the bus, or I wouldn't vote her in.
If it came between Nurys and Olivia, you're going to tell me he's not going to throw Olivia in?
Nurys even said the other day on a live that they had the conversation. She told him, I will completely understand if Olivia's your number one, I'm like your number two.
If it was one-on-one,
I'm with you. Yeah.
But I think that's the only scenario.
And just real quick, my thing is yes, words work, or they go both ways. And should he have the conversation? Yes. But unless she is open to tell him how she feels, how is he supposed to know? Unless someone else says something. And this, you know, in the challenge house, knowledge is power. So people aren't sharing everything. So if she's feeling this certain type of way and he has no clue, it's on her to express her feelings, not on him to necessarily go and seek him out when he already thinks everything's good.
Well, and
he's dating her best friend, apparently.
And I think this goes back to what Katie really said, is that, you know, we don't know like how these conversations have gone, because we do know that Horacio and Olivia have had some sort of conversation about this. Because she's been talking about this since episode 4 or 5. She's been talking about how, you know, Horacio is making her feel like she's doing more for him than he's doing for her. And I feel like there was a conversation that she was having maybe with like Mariah or something, where she said that she had like tried to talk to Horacio about it, but he just wasn't very like receptive in that moment. And I get it. He's probably very difficult to talk to about hard things like that, you know, because he doesn't like confrontation. You can tell he's that kind of person that doesn't like verbal confrontation. You know, so I don't know. I just think in this situation, it's a both of their fault. It's a both of their problem. And they're both fucking up on their friendship and their alliance together. And they both need to get their shit together, like at the end of the day.
Yes.
But I just think that disregarding Olivia's feelings in this moment, because, you know, and assuming that Horacio just has this already in his head is not fair as a fan. So I can't do that. I think that it falls on both of them. And I think that it's going to end up fucking up their friendship. And that sucks to see. I mean, at the end of the day,
everything that's being implied on social media is, it's fucked up their friendship a little bit.
And I mean, I'm not saying that she's wrong. There's no right or wrong in the situation. Like they're both wrong. They're both right. We always say like your truth, their truth, the truth.
Their feelings are both valid and everything. Yeah, they're both right and wrong on the friendship side. The one other element, though, on the alliance side that could be leading to, and again, it's still very frustrating because, like, use your words, Horacio, or like talk about it. The friendship deserves to talk about it if this is the case. But I do think he also realized from just purely the alliance perspective that while he might be willing to fight for her, he knows, and he's slowly over the last few episodes, it started, in the 4th or 5th episode or whatever, where everyone was like, Horacio, like we're kind of looking at you to like say a name or like have some leadership. And he would like, didn't want to do it. And then from that point on, it was slowly a lot of the people in the main alliance that Olivia is in, a lot of the guys, especially Jay and Asaf, being like, we should probably not run a final against Horacio, and slowly but surely kind of pushing him out to where by this point, he is feeling like, I can't work with, I'm like, the group that she is working with doesn't want to work with me. And so other than the girl I'm sleeping with, like I can be okay with you being on like both sides of this or whatever, but like I'm kind of out here picking up all the other stragglers that have been cast aside or targeted from that group. But again, that's then very frustrating if you're like, yeah, but we should have a good enough friendship that if you decide to not be aligned with me in the game, maybe you could pull me aside and like the friendship could at least get that conversation.
Yeah.
But I think he's definitely feeling a little bit like I don't work with that group anymore, and you're a part of that group. And I don't like being uncomfortable or talking a lot in general. So we're just never you're going to probably slowly but surely realize that I'm kind of over here in this group now and you're in that group, and we'll eventually realize it. And yeah, it clearly didn't do good for the friendship. That's for sure.
For Horacio, it's sort of like, well, all of the men in your alliance seem to have painted a target on my back. And if I'm a little bit further over there, then the target's a little bit harder to hit. Because if I'm actively working with you to get me out, then it doesn't bode well for my prize money at the end.
In the words of the great banana man himself,
I've always said is all is fair in love, war, and challenges.
It's true.
All is fair, baby. All is fair.
It will always be true.
With that being said, after this, we get into the daily. And
that was kind of an intense intro, by the way.
We literally just spent an hour on before we even got to the daily. I was debating on sending us to break.
Let's
do this daily.
Let's break through the daily. It's going to be super quick.
But with the daily, it's called We All Fall Down. They missed a golden opportunity of We All Wall Down. I'm just putting that out there. Could have done it. It would have worked. I like it. But that's showbiz, baby. You don't hit every one of them.
You could have done balls to the wall.
From the window to the wall.
Did the sweat drop down? Okay, sorry.
Anyway, if you want to know what the daily is, go watch it.
It's a spinning wall. You got to push people off. That's it.
Just as a quick reminder, Team 1 is Colleen, Ravyn, Jay, and Asaf. Team 2 is James, Michele, Kyland, and Mariah. Team 3 was Olivia, Nurys, Corey, and Emmanuel. And then Team 4 was Zara, Berna, Horacio, and Ed. And before we even break into talking about how we feel about because there's not a whole lot, we can't really break down what happened up on the platforms. We'll go over who won in each round, but really, like, y'all know what happened. But before we get into talking about how we felt about this daily, I just want to say the golden moment of this daily for me was the Team 2's pre-interview to the daily when we find out that apparently Kyland mentioned something to Mariah about how he was concerned that maybe potentially Michele might try to throw the challenge to get him or James in, since they're like the targets. And then Mariah went and took that to Michele and told Michele, and Michele flips out. She has a Michele down right in the pre-interview, and I was here for every single second of it. It was so glorious and so beautiful. So thank you for that entertaining moment, Michele.
It was amazing. It's the most chaos we've seen in this entire section of the game.
She's the best.
So fast, too. I didn't see it coming.
She's such a smartass with her responses too. Fuck.
She's like, I'm so glad that we're in this, in this team here that requires trust, because we have so much trust here. I was like,
also, like, even if Michele does try to sabotage this, she's the smallest person on a team that consists of James, Kyland, and Mariah. They don't need her to be in the competition unless she actively sabotages them by tying their shoelaces together.
Yeah.
It's not going to matter.
Like, if you're really worried about her, push her off the platform and you three, you go at it.
Like, James could literally throw her off the platform.
Yeah, like just ridiculous.
I mean, I wish he would have, but he didn't.
So really quick,
shout out to Kylan though on this, because Kylan, who has a couple times this season said that, you know, like he's a big fan and that he's also, now that he's been on the show, like studies the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kylan, I just want to let you know that you're the only one in this cast that has any clue about anything that's ever happened on this show, including these people have been on.
Thank you, Kylan.
You're the only one smart enough to think, hey, it's been a strategy before, or could be now, to like throw challenges when it's advantageous to you. No one else is thinking that far, Kylan. You are the only one. And God bless you for being the one person with the brain of strategy on this season.
We were talking about it a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, outside of Jay, Kylan's going to be the only one who knows who Brad is.
Well, there's actually more fans on there than I
think Nurys might, because she said that she was a...
And he's at least been on recent enough.
Yeah. Brad has been on recent enough, you know. But speaking of Ed... Did you guys catch his comment where he's like, have you ever seen me and Batman in the same room?
That was so amazing.
That's on my potential for line of the night.
I'm giving it to Ed for that because that was absolutely phenomenal. It was so perfectly timed. I loved it.
So the way the daily broke down real quick is team 1 versus team 2, then team 3 versus team 4. It's a tournament format. Team 2
wins.
Beats team 1, and then team 4 beats team 3.
And then team 4 beats team 2.
Which...
So Berna, Zaza, Horacio, Ed.
Did you see the battle of the butt cheeks between Zaza and
Berna's butt cheeks, baby, every week. Every week.
It was Zara's this time.
We need a sticker with Berna's butt cheeks.
I was watching it and I was like half paying attention, and then Sarah said, "Whose butt is that?" And without looking, I was like, "It's probably Berna's." And then she was like, "No, it's not." And I was like, "Oh, that's Zara. That's Zara. That's Berna."
Speaking of Zara, I wanted to talk about Zara a little bit because this is Zara's 5th daily win this season.
Yep.
And I know that like some of those are like, you know, team wins and stuff like that. But what's impressive to me is when somebody can come in and they can work in a partnership or in a team with a variety of different people and get that amount of wins. So they can't really be like, oh, she was carried on the team, because she's keeps doing it with different people over and over again. So I'm curious, how do you guys feel about Zara, and would you like to see her become like a regular for the flagship?
I love how athletic she is, and like I don't know, I like her personality. I feel like she is the female Horacio.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing too, right? Like when I was looking at them together and trying to figure out the whole like Horacio, Olivia, whatever, whoever, what it came down to is the reason that Zara and Horacio are always together is because both of them are like physical specimens. They're working out every aspect of everything all the time. They're not getting involved in house drama, although they just don't know. And they're just like maximizing every opportunity they have to be in peak physical condition for dailies, for eliminations, for whatever. I liked Zara a lot on her season, and I was sad that they went out so quickly on Worlds. So I would absolutely love to see Zara and like some of the other people like Kieran and people like that to be like mainstays on the flagship.
She's the best female athlete in the house by a mile right now.
Oh yeah.
And I try my best every time I come on here or any other show not to recycle things I say on my podcast like 2 days prior. So this is my one time I'm going to allow myself to recycle. Speaking of world championships, Tony, I think it's a testament to how the challenge works, especially in an episode where, you know, the elimination has people feeling a certain way about, you know, Cara having to play this versus something else or whatever. Wes, God bless him. He is as smart as he says he is in the game. He picked Zara out immediately in the World Championships house, and he made the correct choice, because if it wouldn't have come down to the randomness of Zara, the one thing you have to do is you have to face Casey in a hold the weight up competition. Yeah. And Casey is the number one female, probably number one, probably over actually any other female in the game that could hold the weight up. And that's why you lost and went out. Otherwise, you were the clear favorite to win world championships over Jordan and Kaz, as great of athletes as they are and as great as they did in the final. And so she's been dominating. I I was surprised when Kaz beat her in the Challenge UK
It was by
final.
2 minutes, wasn't it? Like just something
It was very,
minimal.
very close. Yeah. And so, yeah, she is. The Ravyn is the only one in my mind, like even kind of close. But then I remember things like you mentioned earlier in this episode. I had forgotten Ravyn was on the receiving end of Olivia's, truck stick in the overall thing last season. I'm like, oh, damn. Okay. Well, so yeah, I don't think anyone is even close to Zara on the women's side. And I think it makes me so mad that there's only going to be one winner of this season, but I still in my mind think of it like there's a male and female winner. Yeah. And so if I was any of the other ladies, I want Zara out of that house because I'm not touching her in a final.
Yeah. I agree with everything you guys just said about her.
And with just at that end point, even when we get to the final and they announce the one winner, regardless if it's male or female, whoever the next placing opposite sex member to me is also champion of this in my mind. Like, because you need a male and female winner. I don't like this one-off shit. But
wait a minute. So does that mean in your mind Zach Nichols is a 2-time champion or no?
Yes.
Okay. You're the first one I've ever heard say that matter of factly. So
it's just, I mean, if you really look at that final, he led that thing almost from start to finish. And because
he was like 2 hours ahead of her on day one. And then he got like a 3 minute.
He was so far ahead of everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he got, you're right. Of everyone, not just Cara, everyone. And then he got like a 3 minute head start on day two. I hate it. I hate those. Yeah.
After this, the winners get announced. They start debating. We find out it's going to be a women's elimination, so it's going to be back-to-back women, which makes me feel like obviously we're probably going to get back-to-back.
And then we'll end up getting back-to-back
because
men.
we know who the last two marks are. But.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think I don't know this for sure, and I'm guessing it's probably eventually going to come out and be confirmed or not. I know it was confirmed. They wanted bananas, and with respect to Brad, who I love dearly as a person and is a challenge legend, he was the replacement when they couldn't get bananas because he was filming. And so I think this episode was originally supposed to be bananas, and then they would end with Cara and CT.
That would make so much sense.
Again, respectfully to Brad, I hope if he were listening to this, he would understand. We're strictly comparing him to Cara Maria in CT here. That it's going to feel a little weird next week when they've already Cara. I was just the whole time just convinced it's Cara and CT last because that's the two that the fan base is going to go the craziest for, and so that they put him in between them feels like a little weird. But it's because I think they called him you were the alternate champion, and Banana's going to be here, and so now give you a little extra time.
Yeah, and he probably couldn't make it on the original week. Bananas was supposed to be on this week, so they had to move it around.
So we'll see if that's all true, but I think that's potentially how it went down.
So anyway, the daily winners, go over. They do their little debate. I'm not going to go through all their little arguments. It was really strongly between Ravyn and Colleen, with Horacio kind of not even really throwing Michelle's name out, but just kind of hinting that there were other options in the house that haven't been in or done anything. But ultimately, everybody ends up voting for Colleen except for Berna. And Berna is very salty about this. She does not understand why she doesn't get a chance to protect her girl. And my thing is it's like, look, number one, you already know that you're kind of on the bottom of the totem pole with this alliance. Okay. And number two, you did get a chance to protect your girl. You were just outvoted. It's not like let's take turns saving our friends. It's not that's not how this works. You don't just get a turn to save Colleen. You have to convince other people. And unfortunately, there just aren't a lot of options right now.
Oh, well, and that's the thing is who else are they going to choose? And at the end of the day, you get, like you said, a say, but there's 3 other people on that team. So, and
Mariah was being protected. Horacio was not going to let Ravyn get voted in by them. And so I just, it's like, look, Berna, I feel for you, but at the same time, your social status in the house, I hate to say this, but she does it to herself.
Yeah.
People keep her around because she is useful on a team because she can compete, and potentially might be easy to beat in a final. But at the same time, people don't like having her there very much, and she seems like she's very difficult to live with, maybe, and probably work with, but definitely live with, hall monitor. So it's just kind of like,
let the people fuck.
Yeah,
come on.
Okay, just because you're not getting laid doesn't mean that everybody else.
Just because they're cheating on people back home, just let it happen. You're on reality TV.
Look, nobody
Mind
stopped
your
you
business.
fucking Nelson on TV. Okay, so let other people do their thing. I don't know if they actually did. I'm throwing that out.
Yeah,
I don't really know.
Corrina, if I may throw one extra point to Horacio from previous argument.
Sure.
Olivia versus Horacio, when again everything you said before was probably the most correct thing said on the topic. But in this little deliberation that they have, I really carefully watched how the sequence of how it went down. And both Ed and Horacio start by doing the appropriate thing, or what I would hope that I would do in this situation. Who knows? Probably not. But it being like, it's a women's day. 2 women on the team. You speak first. Yeah. And can you, if you guys can come to a consensus that we're mostly okay with like, you can drive the boat here. And they each say 2 names that they won't say. There's 6 women potentially they could vote for. They knock out 2 each, which leaves Nurys and Olivia are the 2 names not said. So between them, they basically turn to the boys and more or less say, we don't want any of these 4. So they don't say Nurys or Olivia, but those are the 2 names they leave. And Horacio is the immediate one, which, I mean, can you imagine if he would have been like, well, I guess we could do Olivia, like how unbelievable of a moment it would have been. It would have been
great. Oh my God, it would have been amazing.
Immediately, he flips from, you guys aren't in charge anymore, to he looks dead at Ed, and Ed looks at him and says, which of the names they just said they won't vote for are we going to decide as going in, because we're not saying Olivia and Nurys.
Yep.
And so it was very subtle, but he did defend in a weird way, defended Olivia. And there was in an interesting way, it was propositioned kind of Nurys or Olivia. And the answer was no, thank you.
Colleen.
The guys are going to make the decision for the Women's Day again. Sorry about that.
I would also like to say that I would be very happy with Ed being a mainstay.
And again, this is my episode where I'm just giving Ed props, apparently.
I love Ed.
They announced that it's going to be, Zara announces that it's Colleen, and Colleen's upset and blah, blah, blah. And she doesn't get equal space on her alliance. And I get where that frustration comes from. But I feel like the thing that applies to Berna still applies to Colleen. You just don't have as much relationship and connections with these people for them to care about you as much as they care about each other. But what I did find funny was while Colleen was like, upset about this, Berna calls Ed out and was like, I tried to speak up. I wish that Ed would have spoke up, louder. And he just literally sat there, just dead quiet.
Yes.
I was like, damn. I was like, that's cold as ice, Ed. Like, didn't say anything. I'm sorry, Colleen. That's just what it is. Like, nothing. He just sat there cold as ice, like, and I'm still going to be quiet. Like, damn.
I would have fucking flipped it on Berna.
The Easton family is the best.
Yeah.
I like Ed.
I would have flipped it on Berna so quick, though. I would have been like, well, you know what? You wanted to throw in Olivia and Nurys, and we couldn't let that happen. And then let you deal with those 2.
Throw her under the bus.
Fuck
to
yes.
Main girls.
Because that's what Berna does. She fucking runs her mouth without thinking about the repercussions.
I agree.
You want to do it? Here you go.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
well, can I bring it back to last week for a second too? Because I wasn't here for it. There was it was during the ABC party when Berna and Emmanuel were talking, and she was like, everyone thinks I'm aggressive, and people just say it like everyone's saying it, so I'm not aggressive. As she's being aggressive.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're aggressive all the time.
Look, and here's my thing, and this is one of my favorite quotes, my favorite like life lessons that my grandmother told me, is that it can't be everybody else. Sometimes it's you. Okay, so if everybody in the house is saying that you're aggressive, you're probably aggressive. Like, it can't be the whole world. It can't be the whole world. I'm sorry.
I just like how I'm not aggressive. Hey, you 2 over there, stop fucking.
Literally. I was like, what do you mean? You just hall monitor, camp counselor came in and kicked Nurys out of her. Leave them be.
Also, Colleen slept through the whole thing.
Yes.
The other part that always gets me is this ad from Spotify.
Oh my God.
Hey, welcome back from the ad. It was from Spotify for podcasters in case you weren't listening.
In case you missed it.
Just throwing that out there. But we're back to recap the rest of this episode. So let's jump right back into it. So after the daily, we get into the house section of the episode, and it starts off with Colleen, Emmanuel, and Asaf make a chart showing how Jay, Michele, Nurys, and Olivia are connected on both sides of the house and kind of have everybody else in the alliance doing stuff for them to a degree to protect them.
Just kind of riding right down the middle. Yeah.
And they're just the most centralized focus of the main alliance, and they are really running stuff. But it kind of narrows down to Colleen wanting to go after Michele, and it seems like Michele is becoming the bigger and bigger target as we go on. Do you think this was, I mean, obviously they don't know what we find out about 30 seconds later with Asaf, but
he's like, I'm gonna go tell everyone bye.
Yeah, he's just fucking, he's the mold of this episode, you know?
He is, yeah. He really is. He just mold the mole. Like
mole.
Sorry. Oh no.
You got zoomed in for that one.
Yeah. It makes it dramatic.
Guys, Katie is having trouble with her camera. It keeps zooming in and then zooming out on her.
I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
We'll edit it to make it look really dramatic. We'll add screen flares like
Can you do like glitter? Just like a puff of glitter.
We'll make our videos really small so everybody can just watch the zoom in and out. and Katie trying not to move.
Oh, see if we stay like this, we're good.
Don't sneeze or breathe.
I hope everybody listening appreciates all of this visual comedy we're experiencing.
It's great.
Sorry, guys. Anywho, this week on the challenge.
Speaking of, I found a different hat during break. That's why my hat miraculously changed colors from gray to a vibrant red.
Oh, it's magic.
I thought you were pulling a Josh Chambers and going for an outfit change mid-episode.
No, I spent like 20 minutes looking for my red hat, Stay Loco hat upstairs before we recorded. And then I was like, fuck it, I can't find it. And it was at the top of the stairs intentionally so I could bring it down. And instead, I walked past it every time and then found it when I went upstairs.
So with this new conversation, it's coming more and more apparent that Colleen is pushing away from this group and realizing she's at the bottom of the totem pole, which we've all known for a while. And there's a couple other people with her. But I think the more interesting thing is what we find out about this alliance that comes out of this, which is what they're calling themselves the Fantastic Four. And I was like, first of all, this isn't fucking Big Brother. Stop with stupid alliance nicknames. We don't need it. But what do you guys think of this alliance of Asaf, Jay, Nurys, and Michele?
They've been riding since the beginning because they were like in the first episode, they had that first mini meeting. I think it's really smart because they're not totally smart because Colleen has it all figured out, but like they are all in separate parts of the house. Jay and Michele are actually the most closely connected out of anybody there visually within the house. But like apparently, like Jacob said, nobody realizes that, as Asaf said, Jay's almost his kid's godfather. Like they're really close. Michele and Nurys are fairly close. Jay and Nurys have pretty sure have known each other since like X on the Beach or something like that. I think he mentioned it. Here's
my thing though with this foursome, this Fantastic Four. Like I said, they've been working together since the beginning of the season, and they even say that in this kind of introduction of what they call themselves and everything, blah blah blah. But you're going to tell me that at this point, right now, Nurys feels the same about not being fully aligned with Horacio? Like she would choose this Fantastic Four over Horacio when it comes down to it? I think it's going to get messy.
But then you just become the Fab Five, and you're fine.
Look,
oh God,
I'm a history buff. Not so much on the challenge like Jacob is, but it's very much giving World War I. Like everybody's aligned up with everybody else, and one thing's going to happen, and all out shit is going to hit the fan.
Yeah.
It's the best way I can put it, and I'm waiting for it. That's what I think we will all wait for every season, where they start cannibalizing their own alliance.
Yeah. So, and in addition to Asaf going and telling Jay and Michele, and Nurys and them what Colleen has been saying and how she's kind of figuring out, how they're kind of sitting in the middle here. apparently, we also find out in this moment that apparently Ed went to Michele after the winner's deliberation and told her that Horacio had not necessarily said her name, but had hinted towards her.
But hinted.
And hinted that there were other people available besides Olivia, Nurys, and Ravyn. And calling, the people they were actually talking about in that deliberation, so Colleen and them too. But which really only leaves Michele. So she's starting to get it from all sides. Like you said, like she's starting to become a big target, especially for that Powerhouse Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
And Ed is definitely, to go back to the drawing there, the beautiful diagram that Colleen wrote. The other thing, them not realizing Asaf is as tight with Jay and Michele as he is definitely the biggest error on there. But the other interesting part is they have it broken, or she has it broken down into 3 groups of 4 and 2 twosomes. And so she has herself, Colleen has herself with Berna, Manuel, and Asaf on one side, and then Corey and Ed as like a secondary part of that side of the tree. And I don't think they've fully put together at this point that like Ed and Corey are higher on that list than Emmanuel, Berna, and Colleen are. Yeah. And especially Ed. I mean, Corey, has worked his way back in and obviously has some commentary and feelings now that he's sharing about himself throughout this episode of the decision he's making now to keep himself back in the good graces. But like Ed was actually the answer to one of our topics and questions earlier in the episode, as far as like, can you just be like friendly and hang out and be friends with people, but not work with them at all?
Yeah.
It's actually Ed all season long. Yeah. He has routinely been like, yes, Big T, we can play fake stripper and you can put money in and we can have a great old time because it's so much fun being friends. But like, no,
I'm not going to work with you.
Like, too bad. And he's done that like 3 or 4 times on this season of just like the person who's, up comes to me and we clearly have a good rapport because everyone loves me because how could you not? I'm just the best. But no, I'm going to vote for you. Too bad. Like, sorry. So I don't think they realize he and Corey are maybe above them in the pecking order too. Yes. Or maybe they do. And maybe that's why they're, moving to the other side. But yeah, Ed has definitely been probably the most loyal, weirdly, the most loyal to outside of Michele, Jay, Asaf, Nurys, and Olivia, really to those 5 that I would really call like the core alliance. And now Nurys is kind of like split a little from it. Ed has been their most loyal soldier of anyone, of just like, I'm never going to stray from this, but I'm going to talk to everyone and maybe some people will give me info.
Well, what's funny too is like, so Ed goes to Michele, like you said, right? Like, and he's like, so this is what went down. Just want to let you know. Horacio pointed out, there are other women in this house. Did he say my name? Well, not really, but he was very clear. There are more women in this house than Colleen and Ravyn. I just wanted to make sure that you knew.
Yeah, and obviously he ain't talking about Olivia and Nurys. So that leaves you, honey buns.
Females are still in this game, Michele.
There are other women
abreast of the situation.
Speaking of orange shirt, once again, did anybody else find it ironic that she has a notebook where she's breaking down the votes of how to get Ravyn out? And it's like, God, you and Laurel are more similar than you guys really want to admit.
Thank you.
Can you imagine how big the notebook's going to be on their rival season?
Oh my God. It's going to be
that's going to be the episode where they come together and will learn how to work together. Is one's going to walk in on the other and see the notebook and be like, oh my God, wait a minute.
You do this too?
Okay, we could do it. We could do this. They're the same. Our lists are the same.
They're going to have one of those mead notebooks with the fucking mead notebooks with like the divider in it. So they can break it down into sections. This is for conquest. This is for chaos.
Laurel's going to throw Michelle's notebook out the window. She's be like, we don't use this shit. This is the notebook. This is the list. Right here.
This is the only one.
I'm sorry. Do you have a question?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So I think this is really the most important part that came out of this whole conversation
I'm
in the
excited
house,
for this one.
which was Olivia and Jay talking about how he thinks Horacio and Kylan are coming for him. And she hinted towards that she'd have his back. And they say Nurys is fully on with Horacio, thinking she's in love. But Jay pretty much kind of kiboshes that one, saying, I know Nurys will never say my name. Like they have a really good relationship from what I'm assuming outside of the house. And then they kind of get into the fact that Olivia, once again, into this like almost imposter syndrome that she feels like she failed Horacio for the last final and he carried her through. And Jay puts a kibosh on that, kind of what we were talking about, like as far as her social gameplay carried him. And I kind of wanted your guys' thoughts on this, the whole conversation, as far as Olivia kind of fully turning on Horacio and telling Jay, yeah, that's probably going to happen.
So I'll just jump in really quick. That's crazy. First of all,
that's crazy.
But again, it's kind of one of those things where, you know, it's like, I can't really blame her. She already feels Horacio drifting away from her and, you know, kind of drifting more towards this Powerhouse Alliance. So I can't really blame her for wanting to do her own thing. As far as what Jay said about how she was actually the one who carried Horacio through because of the social game, I see his point, because she was the one who was likable. So people were, you know, saving them and keeping them around, etc. But I just think it's so weird to just like for one person to get all the credit for like carrying the other person through the season when one of them was really great at social and one of them was really great at physical. So it's like, really, you guys, neither one of you carried or drugged the other one through it. You guys were just a really great match as far as, you know, being able to, like, one person's, you know, weakness was the other person's strength.
They were able to cover all the aspects of the game together.
Yeah, you know, so it's like, I don't agree with the carrying or dragging, but I don't agree with it on either side.
No, and like, it's sort of like Olivia kept them out of elimination with her social capital. But when they got pulled into elimination, that's where Horacio went to the forefront. That's not to say that like Horacio wasn't a part of the social, because like Jacob said, like he was in with Jordan and Laurel. And then you've got, like, we have constantly said that she is like Barbie Beast 2.0. So nobody is doubting her abilities, but Horacio comes to the forefront in the sand. She's comes to the forefront in the house, but with one without the other doesn't make it that far.
Agreed.
They're like yin and yang.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm sorry, I kind of get the feel from Olivia that this is a self-fulfilling prophecy. She's just telling herself over and over, oh, Horacio doesn't have my back. Horacio doesn't have my back. He's not working with me. He's going to go against me. Where we get to hint that, or we get that scene earlier at the end of the daily where Horacio's clearly still trying to protect her. And she goes 5 minutes later and is like, yeah, no, Jay, they're coming after you. You should try to get rid of them.
We also have the thing that I'm trying to also remember too is it's really easy to assess the situation from, you know, these chairs right here. Being in that house and in that environment, like we talked about Michele being paranoid, but at the end of the day, everyone gets paranoid in that house. And I can't really blame anybody for it, because that house is a mental fuck. Like to like no other. You know, any of these games are Survivor, Big Brother, like it just being excluded from society and being forced to kind of like make this new society with a bunch of people that you're competing against.
Yeah. And no individual time to yourself. Like,
and not only that, but if you think about it, at this point, everyone knows that there is only one winner. So Olivia knows that she can protect Horacio and all this, but then she's going to have to beat him in a final. So it's like, I kind of don't blame her on being like, go for it, you know? But it's also like, okay, but then if he flips on you, you know, down the road or whatever, you can't be mad about that.
Yeah.
I did have a side. This is a tangent, so if you want me to pin it for another time, we can. But I noticed it. Okay. There was, so again, last week when I wasn't here, we were talking about how we weren't sure how interviews were being done. And I would just like to say I have kept my eyes peeled this episode, and I have noticed tiny differences. And I also noticed when Olivia, there's a point when I think it was Kylan and Colleen were talking outside. Nurys and Horacio were like cuddled up on a lounger. She had on her makeup and her earrings, and her hair was interview day. And I've noticed there are some times where her hair's a little, maybe it's because I'm a hairstylist. I don't know. But her hair's a little bit smoother than other days. And I could be crazy. When I watched it on Wednesday, I swear I saw an interview where Ravyn had like little braids in her hair. But then in the other ones, her hair's like just normal. So I don't know. And there was another part with Michele. I noticed little differences in her hair. And then during deliberation, she had her hair in makeup.
And also Nurys made a post about how last year she was able to have so many looks for her interviews. And then she planned on upping her game this season, but she only ended up with one.
Right.
So
there was a new rule which is an interesting choice by production to say, because the negative side of that, if you want to, is that they could be more trickery with using the interviews, because in the past it was a little bit of a tell. Like I remember it being a thing when you would see someone in a new outfit for the first time, you'd be like, oh, they might get through this episode because they clearly got to an interview day that we haven't seen anyone else be at yet because there's a new wardrobe, but that they can be more tricky with it. With you have to wear the same thing to interview every time. You have to look the same so that we can use any interview to supposedly have happened at any time, which is, really shady.
Yeah.
But it's so weird because, I saw that post from Nurys too. And then Corey Lay commented on it like, I was so ready with all these outfits. And then like the one I was maybe didn't love the most was the one I had to wear every single time. And now it's like, I'm just known for this red vest with my shirt, no shirt under it or whatever. And it was a very, I would love to know the production's reasoning of like, if it was anything beyond like, we can be shady now and use these anytime. It's like, otherwise, why can't they? Like, it doesn't make sense.
I don't like it, to be honest. Like, I'm not a huge fan of it. I liked seeing the outfit changes and the different, I liked that. So
I like that it shows their personalities.
I think it was Tyson when they were on USA that he continually tried to fuck with them and kept trying to mess things up. So it wasn't like completely in continuity with the other times that he's worn them. And then they kept fixing it on him. But that, like, I guess the other aspect is sort of like what Jacob said, where if they have to wear the same outfit every time that they interview, then you don't know, they're probably going to get through the episode because they're wearing something different. But the flip side is, like, as we all have said, because they can use any audio clip that they're not showing the person directly at any time, they now can also bounce around with any confessional at.
Yeah, now I don't believe anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I believe it even less, or I question it even more than I already questioned it before.
Yeah.
And now there also can't be like the one shirt. Like every season, there ends up being the one shirt or something that like everyone passes around and wears. Like turtleneck. Challenge Australia was my favorite one. That was
sunflower
not Connor's flower. Yeah, the sunflower one that was not Connor's, but Connor wore the most. So I thought it was his. But it was actually, I think, Kieran's.
I think so.
So there can't be that either. I'm like, dude, how is Fessy's turtleneck going to get screen time now? Like, come on. I bet someone has it there.
Come on now, guys. So the only other thing that really happens before nominations is we get the scene where Kylan, I was calling him Kylan and Colleen are having the discussion. And where basically it's kind of becoming official that Colleen has moved away.
Sorry.
That was the fastest zoom of all the zooms too. It was like, boom, got to get this water shot. Taking a sip, got to get it.
Got to get that water shot.
Hold on. Grab your water and take a drink again.
I'm sorry.
Please.
I don't want to.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, God, it almost came out my nose.
It's going to definitely zoom in if it comes out your nose.
That was amazing. So Colleen finally officially joins this Powerhouse Alliance of, Kylan, Horacio, Ravyn, and Zara, and now Colleen is now aligning herself with them because she's sick of being at the bottom and being used as a tool on her alliance. And you know what? You go, girl. You go, girlfriend, because
and it's not even misfits. Like
now I just call them the Powerhouse Alliance because like they're not the big one, but they're the ones that can win, man. They've got the potential.
They're not the misfits, they're the really fits.
They need to not win is the weird problem because in this episode, they still don't have the numbers yet because we get Michele, doing the math and being like, well, of the people who can vote, we have 7 that we feel really good about. And that's so 7 out of 12, like we're good. And so weirdly, they need to not win or all win like on a team together where they can actually like, because if it's like this one where it's like, it's just Horacio on the winning team, he can't put someone up really that they want to because it's 3-1, but then the numbers are still in favor of the majority alliance that the rest of the house gets to vote. So they either need to all be on one team and get a win together to throw someone in or
not win.
Or people from the majority alliance be on a team, win and be like, well, the one of you that wasn't in that team is the one going in because now all of us get to vote again. So it's a weird number situation where they still don't quite have enough to pull it off without there being a really specific team orientation around the random. I'm getting tired of the random teams anyways. We don't need to discuss that, but I hate that it's always like, and you're already standing in them. Look at that. I'm like, they already knew. You told them as they walked in. Like,
exactly. Stupid.
So after that, we get to the nominations and Colleen and
such an exciting event.
Yeah. Colleen and Ravyn call everyone out for playing Kumbaya and expecting them to keep playing these games while
they
keeps throwing them in.
You know what? Shout out to Colleen and Ravyn because they straight told the alliance, we're done with you guys. We're done with this shit. And that is exactly like we talked about this last week. About how, one of the things that we're not enjoying about the newbies is that, they're kind of playing it safe and they're not creating, not controversy, but
conflict.
They're not creating conflict on purpose, right? This was one of those situations where they had an opportunity to create some conflict and light some fires and they took it. And so major props to Ravyn. Last week it was Olivia who just kind of like played I'm just going to do what's best for my game, like played the bullshit card. Shut up. I loved this from Ravyn and Colleen. Tell them exactly what it is. We're coming for your asses. I love that. And yes, maybe not the best move game-wise, but just for us fans watching, loved it. Thank you so much.
Say it after the vote.
Well, the vote wasn't going to...
I think that was the only thing that really bothered me. One of the things that really bothered me about this episode was that there's all this talk about maybe Michelle's going in, especially now that she knows that there's other women in the house. And then it all boils down to another majority Ravyn vote. And I'm just like, cool. Glad that happened.
This is what really grind my gears about this whole section is we get this whole long theme from Jay about how all the easy votes are gone and
no one's an easy vote.
No one's an easy vote. And, we hope you go down there and come back. And then we get the confessional of him saying the exact opposite. And it's like,
well, it wasn't even. It wasn't even the exact opposite. He was calling Corey out and like made a comment about, I don't know if he was specifically calling Corey out, but that's how they edited it, right? So that's how I'm going with it. Like, but he was calling Corey and other people out, and he's like, "Why are we telling people we love them and playing Kumbaya and all this?" It's like, bro, you just did the same thing.
He said we.
You just did it.
He was also confused as to why he was doing it.
To me, Corey had the best speech in this whole thing.
Oh, dude, look, I don't even know what he said in the long part of it, but I may have to take my line of the night back because him saying, I'm voting for you, Ravyn, because I'm a pussy. You know what?
Well, I mean,
thank you, Corey, for being fucking honest. Like, that was straight honesty. I'm too much of a pussy to go against Michele and everybody else right now, so I have to vote for you. I'm sorry. Well, that was straight honesty, and I loved it.
To paraphrase, basically what he was saying is they're not necessarily playing a great social game, but some people come in with friends, so they have a more secure standing amongst everyone, which is exactly what it is. It's Michele and Jay are very well connected. And they won't turn on each other. Yeah.
Well, he even says, you might not be the easy vote, but you're the easier vote. And that's 100% fact, so I appreciated Corey's honesty in this. But yeah, I mean, it jumps straight into votes. Everybody votes for Ravyn except for Kyland.
Shout out Kyland.
Yeah, shout out Kyland.
I don't know why it was Mariah instead of Michele for fun, but still it was great that the votes were like 10-0 and he was like, I'm still going to not vote for you because I would like it to just be known that some people in this house want to vote for different people.
I was actually surprised that Colleen still voted for Ravyn. I figured she would burn her vote on Mariah, even though they knew that nobody else, that Ravyn was going to go in just by the numbers. But still, just like you already know, you've already made this speech saying that you're not going to play these games with the Alliance anymore. Follow it up by fucking throwing the vote on Mariah and having your girls back.
And not only that, but like, you know that in this game, the name that is said becomes easier to say the next time.
Yep.
So even if you're not going to make a difference with this vote, you still say it because eventually you're either going to be in the final or you're going to be gone because they've thrown you in enough times that you slip up. They're going to need a new name. So you might as well be able to have your legacy be, I said that name first. They went home.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Well, elimination or the nomination's pretty short, so we get right into the elimination. And let's be honest, this is what everybody's been waiting for this whole episode.
Oh, yeah.
We know who's getting ready to come out. So,
well, yeah, we knew because not only did Challenge Mania post about it and spoil it before the episode even aired, but Cara herself posted about it in her comments and stuff to a bunch of people before the episode aired. Like, there was so many people.
The main challenge account has 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
About 24 to 36 hours before they posted about Laurel's is back this week, and they posted about Cara, and Cara and Laurel both like posted about it themselves, and they're two veterans of this that would not do that if they weren't told they were allowed to at this day and time.
Yeah. Jordan, Devin, they did it.
Yeah, they've all been told they're allowed to promote it because they think it's going to help the ratings, and it has kind of for a couple of the episodes, but like it doesn't matter. It's not gonna. It's not going to change anything.
That's exactly what tells me, though, that these champion mercenaries were never meant to come in and just fucking steamroll the contenders. They're just being used for ratings. They're just being used to bring 100%. Fans in to watch.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, go ahead. I know you were getting into the elimination.
No, it's good. And obviously we get the obligatory TJ. This is one of the best. You know, you have to be.
In my
best.
opinion, it is the best.
And which I don't argue with. You know,
major props.
You can make a major argument for her being the best.
Can I say something really quick?
Yeah, of course.
I just want to say last week on the podcast, and I've been saying this for a few weeks, but I officially said it on the podcast last week. And I asked, why is TJ not giving elimination stats, especially because contenders aren't running against them in a final. They're running against them in elimination.
That's what matters.
And then boom, magically he names off Cara. And I know hers are impeccable. So, you know, that's a huge bragging point. So I get why he did it for her, but it makes me curious why he didn't do it for anybody else. Cause like Devin has a decent elimination record. Tori's is decent. But
Jordan,
great elimination record.
So does Casey.
Darrell, I don't really know. Casey is...
No, she's got one loss.
One loss, so she's got... You know what I mean? So it just made me wonder why he wasn't doing elimination stats.
Or is he and they just cut them for certain people or something?
Yeah, because they're cutting a lot out of these eliminations, as we found out in this episode. The epic performance Cara puts on, we did not see anywhere near all of it, according to all the other folks that were there and witnessed it themselves.
Yeah, and even what we did see was really good. She really did put on a performance. I wish we could have seen the full, like, uncut version of it.
I honestly, I'm going to be 100% honest. From what I've heard of things that she said in the elimination, in the arena that were cut, I think the challenge did it for a reason. And I think that had they aired it, Cara would have taken an absolute beating from the fan base because they were very personal comments, and that I feel like a lot of the fan base probably would have agreed with. But then there's a huge majority that like you don't make those kind of comments these days. And I feel like the fans would have fucking ripped her up.
Oh shit! I didn't even know about that.
I will follow up later. I don't know anything.
We put a pin in. I don't know anything either. I haven't heard any of this.
I only heard the plastics comment.
Yeah, apparently she was making comments about how all the girls are made of plastic and all this stuff. So making fun of body image and getting
glass houses.
She would have gotten ripped up by people online.
Exactly, Jacob. Thank you. I like how she's saying all that, but like it's like very well known that Nurys has had either very minimal or zero work at all.
Literally
like she's
zero.
One of the few completely natural girls there. You know what I mean?
Literally zero work.
I almost felt like when Cara called out the 4 people, I was like, yeah, but she only means 3 of them. Nurys didn't do anything. Like even I am making excuses for Nurys. Like everybody else in the house, we're like, yeah, but she's fine. She's cool. She's Nurys.
Could you look? I'm just going to put this out there. Could you imagine what would have happened if Cara tried to go against Nurys in a puzzle? Like, because out of all the girls up there, I feel like Nurys is.
But would Nurys have been able to push those blocks around?
I feel like she would have been, but not as well as Cara can.
I think she could have kept up with Orange Shirt.
She's not going against.
If she could do the same as Orange Shirt, then she could get to the puzzle and get it done, is what I'm saying. But
yeah, I don't know.
That's a bunch of like what ifs, and if was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. So
I love how Cara asked Colleen and Ravyn how many times they've been in elimination. And this actually relates back to a comment that Colleen actually made right before nominations. And when she was sitting there talking to Kylan, and she had said, like, you know, and if it is Cara, you know, she was an outsider too. So they were clearly talking about what potential females could show up. Obviously, Cara is like, you know, duh. And so I just found that interesting that that conversation was had, and then it does end up being Cara, and Cara does straight ask them, how many times have you guys been in here? And then they say, none of them have been in here even one single time. And I knew it was fucking over. If she got that chaos, she was going after one of those 4.
Real quick, I just want to say that I really, really enjoy the fact that in Cara's like little side interview, she goes like, you didn't even have to vote me into elimination anymore.
Yeah.
I've never seen Sarah get more excited for somebody to be on a show. Like, she was giddy when Cara ran out. And like, obviously I was equally stoked, especially as soon as she started talking. The easiest correlation I can make is she is basically the Deadpool of the challenge world. She just comes out, she does what she needs to do. She says whatever the fuck she wants, and she takes shots.
She's okay, so Jacob, I know you were talking earlier about all the people that have issues with the season because we don't have our people. I may have been one of them. I flipped.
That's a great, perfectly fine reason to have. You clearly find things to enjoy too. My issue is with the people that I'm online way too much is the real issue. But there is a lot of like, even like the Stan accounts and stuff that are 5 years deep in 100% of their comments about the challenge are just negative and like and everything. And I'm just like, well, then can you just stop commenting? Because some of us are addicted to Twitter and can't get off.
Just go away.
Like the interactive challenge stuff that is negative sometimes, but is also potentially positive other times. So yes, you absolutely. I also would like some of these cast members to just be on the season.
And even like it just she's so polarizing. Like you like her or you don't. And even if you don't like her, she's entertaining. The second she comes on the screen, like her look, everything about her, she's a beast. But also everything she had to say, like she was so entertaining. Like
it was classic Cara.
Yes.
Which is the part that you wouldn't 100% expect from her is that like I wouldn't have really said, and like I'll break my rule. I said on my podcast, she came in and out Jordan and out Laurel as far as like.
Oh, I don't know about Jordan. I don't agree with Jordan, but that's my own thing.
The reason they put Jordan first is the champ because they wanted someone who is willing to come in and like talk shit and be like, hey, the whole like idea here is that you guys come in to like mess with them. So like we'll put the guy who's willing to be a dick and aggravate all of them first. And so like I didn't really think Cara, I thought she would be very good at it, but not the one that has the best of like, oh, I'm just here to be an antagonist. Oh, I'll antagonize. No problem. Like I didn't expect her to be the one 12 out of 10 Yeah, I can antagonize these people. I can make them all shake in their boots, no problem.
So for all of our younger generations listening, what everyone's saying is Cara ate.
She ate. She had like 17 meals, I think.
Wait, what do they say? No cap?
No cap.
Basically, after Michele got called down, we could have referred to her as brown pants because she shit herself.
Speaking of orange shirt getting called down, okay?
I loved this so much.
So Cara immediately, before she even pulls the chaos, before she even pulls the draw, she goes to to everybody up in the audience and she's like, if it wasn't one of these two, who's it going to be? Orange shirt, you go first. And Michele makes the mistake that we were literally just talking about. Cara is giving you an opportunity to create conflict and you fucking turned her down. And now she's going to come for you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like this is, again, one of those situations where Michele, yes, not a great game move, but you were put on the spot. And what Cara wanted was conflict. And if you're not going to say somebody else's name, then it's going to be you.
100%.
I loved it. I loved it. And then I loved that she just reaches and she reaches into the mouth.
Yes.
She's like dancing. She's like, oh, is this the one? And then fucking whip that mace out. I also want to know what you guys think really quick. Has the mace been in the middle every week?
I think so.
I think so too.
too.
Thought Laurel pulled the middle one last week.
No, she pulled the one on the right.
Closest to the
on her right, yeah.
I miscalculated when it probably comes down to what we've already talked about Brad potentially not being available and moving stuff around. I fully anticipated either to have back-to-back weeks of Cara and CT coming out with the mace and basically being like, these are the best of the best. They get to pick who they go against, plain and simple. But what I also was hoping for was a double elimination.
Yeah.
With the same week, TJ calls them out and two people come out and it's Cara and CT with a mace over each shoulder.
That would have been so good.
That was what I was waiting for.
That would have been sick.
This was still amazing, but that was what I had in my head this whole time was Cara and CT are walking out of that thing together, mace over either shoulder, just being like, boom, this is what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been really, really cool.
Well, did anybody catch what Cara said, though, is kind of like how she leaned towards Michele, which was that
because of Polly?
Polly told her that said
Michele
she was a snake
last season.
But then, so she knew, at first I'm like, oh, she doesn't know who Michele is. And then she knew who she was. So you called her orange shirt just to
fuck with her. Yeah.
I don't think they've commented on it, but I'm not going to believe that Laurel and Cara Maria haven't had a conversation about Michele because it was just too perfect that they both, won't say her name.
Someone on MTV's challenge said that Laurel, and I don't remember who said it. One of the three of them said that Laurel and Cara ran into each other at the hotel before.
That would make more sense.
So
anyway, obviously the elimination's called Blockhead.
Which, just real quick, Blockhead, if you guys check, makes a great music video called Music Scene. I had to throw that out there. It's one of my favorites.
Moving on. So Blockhead, if you want to know what the elimination is, go watch it. So pretty much, look, we all know Michele ends up beating Cara in this. Cara got all of her pieces quicker than Michele did. And was even able to block Michele.
Amazing.
Which was
so fucking good.
Great. Such a fucking veteran move. I don't even think that thought even crossed Michelle's mind.
Nope.
So major props to Cara for that. However, Michele, obviously, like we said earlier, had help from the audience who could see the puzzle from above, which made it a little easier to put it together. And Cara is just inherently not that great at puzzles. So Michele ends up winning and, Cara goes home, quote unquote, empty handed, although they paid her quite a bit of money just to show up. I guarantee you all that. My question is, and this was kind of brought up earlier in the episode, is, and we kind of had a little bit of a debate about it last week, about the type of eliminations that these champions are being given. So my question is, should the eliminations, because if you think about the format of the season, the purpose of the season is to bring upon a new champion, a new era of challengers and champions for the fans. Should the eliminations be geared for the existing champion veterans, or should they be geared more towards a neutral standing so that the contenders have a good opportunity to show out for the fans?
I would say that they should have, like, if they want it to be a showcase for both, make it be a level playing field, not something the vets are inherently bad at or like not great at, something that is just as easy for them as it is for somebody else. But I did take the time to write down why exactly they give Jordan endurance, Devin basically run counting, Casey got a pole wrestle, and then you've got Tori in a pool, Kaz in a cat tunnel, Darrell stuck to a tilt-a-whirl with firecrackers, and then you've got Laurel going through art school with color theory, and you give Cara Maria a puzzle.
It's the pegs for Laurel.
And here's my thing. I had a discussion about this with a couple different people on our Instagram page. My thing is I totally understand not doing eliminations that are specifically geared towards like the thing the champion is best at.
Sure.
Because the point is not to showcase the champs, right? The point is to use the champs for viewership, but to showcase this new era of challengers. Mm-hmm. However, here's my thing. For example, if you're going to bring Cara in as a mercenary who literally has not been on this show since 2019, okay, you're going to bring her into this show as a mercenary, okay, a mercenary, and you're going to give her a puzzle. Why are we not giving her the puzzle she won vendettas with? Why are we not giving her a puzzle we know she can do, that she's at least decent at? Maybe maybe she sucks at puzzles. And I get you don't want Cara coming in doing a hall brawl with any of the girls there because you already know she's going to wreck shop and send people home, you know, or a pole wrestler or whatever. But why are we not doing something like, how cool would it have been if all the champions eliminations were like, if they were going to do a puzzle, it was a puzzle that they've won a final with before.
Yes.
Like, you know,
that would have been so cool.
The storytelling opportunities behind that even is just like, even in just that 20, 30 minutes that the champs are on, I don't know. I feel like the eliminations could have been chosen better as far as what they're doing, but I don't necessarily agree with the fandom that the eliminations should be 100% geared toward the champ.
Here's my thing is there's one thing in the challenge world that you can guarantee is going to happen, and that's production's going to fuck themselves at some point. It happens every season, every single season. And they might as well have given Cara an algebra problem to solve up there. I'm just being honest.
I'm glad they didn't give her math. I really am.
They should have.
Or swimming.
It was the equivalent of it. I mean, I'm not saying give Cara a pole wrestle or a hall brawl, but let's get a fucking endurance event.
I honestly think that they probably thought that the physical portion of the elimination, because Cara is like a physical person, she's strong. I think that they thought that that's where she would get her lead and, you know, even out the odds for that elimination, which she kind of did. But Michele did better than I thought she was going to do, pushing those blocks around.
I have a question about the blocks themselves. So they were double-sided, so each side had a piece of the puzzle. But do we know, was it the same puzzle on both sides, or they had to be slightly different?
I would assume they're the same.
Well, and also so that you didn't have to, like, you mean like the puzzle, like the pieces on each side of the same block were the same? Yeah. I just assumed so that you didn't have to roll it as many times.
That's what I thought too, but then I was like, is that part of it? And is that why Cara was struggling? Because maybe Michele lucked out.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say lucked out, but
I'm wondering if maybe you're right. That's interesting. And I'm curious to, you know, like talk to somebody from the season.
Yeah.
And find out more about those blocks. That's actually interesting.
I will let all of you know that I think all of you are crazy right now. And I hate that I have this opinion. And I want to preface it with, I adore Cara to death, as a majority of the fandom rightfully does. And she's amazing. The puzzle pieces were the same on both sides. So wasn't an extra element of confusion or anything. The other thing, Cara isn't bad at puzzles. Not only did she win vendettas with it, but shout out to I think mutual friend Alan Aguirre. I think have you guys had him on? Fantastic tweeter, among many things challenge related, but he gave the rundown. She also beat Johnny Bananas on Bloodlines on a puzzle, and then won the final redemption on Dirty 30, which was like a kind of mass puzzle where they hit you on the head like whack-a-mole style, and she beat CT, Bananas, Jordan. There was like 12 of them in it. 3 of them got to go through or whatever. So she's no slouch. And I'm just going to say it. This was a straight up embarrassing loss. I'm sorry. This puzzle is easy. This puzzle is easy.
Horrid.
And as she says, this is a CrossFit workout for her. She should have had 10 minutes to do this 9-piece puzzle while Michele was still struggling away with these pieces. And so I want to somehow not take anything away from Michelle's win because she did the puzzle really fast. But I also don't think the help from the crowd mattered almost at all for her. The Ravyn one last week, that helps a ton. You're trying to memorize a code of colors. That's really helpful to say them out loud and have someone say it back to you.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I don't know what the hell happened here, Cara. You're not bad at math, yes, but who isn't?
Yeah.
But like it's a 9-piece puzzle that's pretty damn easy. And you should have had even more of a lead than maybe, and I think she might have, because again, you said, she blocked Michele. And I'm like, if you are struggling with the puzzle too, go back and block Michele again. You're allowed to move those pieces wherever you want. Like, go do it again. Cheat off of Michele. You can move the pieces faster.
Right?
So look at where she.
What if she puts it on her mat?
That's what I was just thinking. Just go put it in the middle of Michelle's fucking puzzle.
I'm guessing that was out of bounds, probably because there's always rules they don't tell us. And if it wasn't, that should have been the first thing that she did. Just put one right in the center.
Yeah, like I figured it was like you can't touch the other person's block, but I was like, if they didn't say you can't touch the other person's mat,
I was blown away that she lost. I was just like, I don't know what, and it led me to think like, how much did you? Again, as I've thought the whole season, how much are they really trying, depending on what their appearance fee was versus the 10 grand, and maybe what they've been told of like, it would really help us if someone beat you and whatnot. And so, I adore Cara. She's probably maybe the best female ever in my mind, but without taking anything away from Michele, who is my number one favorite female right now. I don't think I've expressed that yet on this podcast, but number one favorite female, Michele. I adore her, and I don't really know why, but I do.
Fandom, leave him alone. It's okay.
No, it's fine.
Just leave him alone, okay?
Don't be mean to him.
I would like to point out that he picked the Survivor player, not me. Well, I got Jay, but like, I didn't immediately glom on to the Survivor player this time. So
Michele, Corey, and Ed are my 3 favorites. They float above everyone. And Ravyn is slowly floated up and might be joining the group. But those 3 float above. But so without taking away from her, I thought it was straight up embarrassing loss for Cara Maria.
I have a question about the elimination though. And I know like we didn't get to see all of it and everything like that. The aerial shot when they're starting off, it looks like Michele is rolling something that's going towards Cara at the very beginning when they do an aerial shot. And I went back and I watched it, and it wasn't I thought it might have just been a drone that just in the shot, but it wasn't. And I have no idea what it was, but it looked like a disc of some sort that she was rolling towards Cara. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it would be any part of anything, but in that aerial shot right before they kind of say go, something is moving from Michele to Cara.
Maybe she just had something in her hand. She was thrown off to the side of the arena or something. I don't know. I didn't even notice it.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
That's pretty much it for the episode. Michele ends up winning. Goes back to everybody. Everybody hugs her.
Surrounded by fate.
She doesn't have to go back. Everybody runs down.
After she dances on the puzzle. That part was good.
Yeah, I like that part actually. You know what? If you're gonna show off, just show off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I also will say when she's standing there with TJ, she is beat red. So you can tell that, especially for someone who's won $1 million on TV before. She knew like this mattered in a big way to her, and like it takes a lot for someone who's been through all the stuff on reality TV that she has to be like overtaken with like, you know, like, oh, I'm almost like shy about being in the spotlight. I can't believe this just happened or whatever. And I found it kind of adorable that she was like, finally stopped talking, because she talked very confidently before, after, and throughout this episode and this season. And in that moment, she was like, holy shit, I actually can't believe this just happened. And now I'm standing here and TJ told me I beat Cara, and Cara left, and I'm not leaving. And like, she's just so unbelievably red in that moment.
As much shit as I give Michele, she makes great TV.
Oh, yeah.
And she is a polarizing character. Very much so. I just enjoy the fact that I can call her orange shirt.
I have multiple name options.
Purple jacket.
Yeah, it's great.
Short skirt.
Brown pants.
Anyways, that pretty much wraps up the episode. Real quick, let's run through. We've kind of talked about lines of the night. Mine's Corey's talking about I'm being a pussy. I'm voting for Ravyn too. Do you guys have your lines of the night?
I'm going with Ed being Batman.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna stick with Ed being, Ed's Batman one, but I'm gonna honorable mention Corey saying that he's voting for Ravyn because he's a pussy, because that was awesome.
Yeah,
Cara Maria, basically everything she said, but the knockoff line, or the coupon knockoff line, whatever, that I forget exactly what she said.
Yeah, she said just because you have a 50% coupon doesn't mean you got to stock the shelves with knockoff.
Yeah, that was the line. That was my favorite. And that's why I think you were right earlier when you said, like, you know, they left some stuff in and some stuff out. They left all the good stuff in, where it's like, damn, Cara, all right, you came prepared for this. And they cut out some of the ones where like, oh, those weren't your best.
Not your best work.
Well, maybe we should not. So,
Katie.
I have one that we didn't talk about, but it was after deliberation when they're back in the house and Corey had come back up to Ravyn and he was like, I'm sorry, I'm a pussy, and Ravyn was like, champions aren't pussies. And I was like, oh, that's right, girl.
That was a good one. That actually was.
I loved her mentality of like not getting mad at him, of being like, yeah, it's okay. I'm going to tell you you're wrong, but I'm not going to like get mad at you or break a chance at maybe you not being a pussy next time around, whatever, you know.
But the sass she had with it, I was like, yes, girl, yes.
Who'd you guys have for MVP?
Cara.
Mine's controversial, so.
You got Cara.
I will like Ravyn as far as people in the house. Cara.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe mine's not controversial.
I have Michele, but I don't allow myself to the champs when I do the MVP this season. I said the champ either did their job and was entertaining and they get an honorable mention from me, or they don't do their job, but I'm not allowed to give them the MVP of the episode for statistical purposes. But Cara probably could have got it. I almost broke the rule, so I'm going with Michele.
There you go. All right.
I'm just going to second what Jacob said. It's the exact same for me. Michele and Cara, honorable.
I'm going Ravyn, Cara.
I'm Ravyn.
Yeah, I just love the drama and the fire and the conflict she's creating. It's exactly what I'm missing.
I feel like they brought Michele in to become one of the female faces of the challenge, but I think that as much as I do enjoy Michele, I think that Ravyn is starting to outshine her as an all-around player, whereas and I'm fine with that. Like I'm a survivor guy through and through. It's all fucking behind me. But like, I'm gonna pick Ravyn before I pick Michele right now.
Yeah,
that's fair.
That's fair.
So one final question I want to ask, because I already know everybody else's answer, but I don't know Jacob's. Who's your pick for winner thus far into this season?
I forget who I actually picked preseason, but a couple weeks ago I kind of made updated picks. And I think I said Ed and Michele at the preseason because I just wanted to root for my favorites to win. But I think Horacio is going to win. And I think that Ravyn's going to get first for the women. And that's the picks I'm leaning on.
I like it.
That's where I'm at. And I don't even think those were my original preseason picks, to be honest. But that's where I'm sitting right now, is Horacio and Ravyn.
I don't know what my initial pick was. I'm sure it's Jay. But I would say that, like, I'm going out on a limb. I'm going to say it's probably Jay. But I would say Horacio and Ravyn. And I would say that I don't actually think that Jay and Zara are that far behind, but I don't know if they'll get there.
Yeah.
Because I think Jay's unproven in a final, and I don't think many people want to find out.
I do. My only prediction for next week, though, goes against my final prediction because let me know if you think I feel like this is one of my better predictions I've ever made. Just knowing Brad's personality and that it's Brad next week. If Brad pulls the chaos, which is the if part of this, but if he does, I feel like there's no way in hell Brad doesn't look up there and say, I want to go against Horacio because the honorable thing to do is to go against the best person in the house. And so, Horacio, you got to come down. I've heard you're the best. Everyone here says you're the best. I feel like Brad's personality, if he gets chaos, is purely to go to the only right thing to do, the only just thing to do, fair thing to do is I should face the best person in the house. And then, you know, that's an interesting matchup. So.
Or he just picks the biggest and goes against James.
He's like, wait, it's a hall brawl. Can I get James and Corey at the same time? Yeah.
I want him to go against James.
Katie, who's your pick for winner so far?
That's a good question. I honestly don't know if I've ever picked a winner.
Oh,
I don't remember if I did or not. I know. I don't know if I did.
One right here. You can be perfect at predictions.
Quick, zoom in.
Oh my God. My drink.
Drink.
Right?
I think the winner's Jordan. No. It's probably Horacio. I'm going Horacio and Ravyn.
Nice, okay.
I agree with 50% of you guys as far as your picks.
What girl do you want?
Oh, I'm going Horacio and Nurys.
Wow, what a story. What a story.
Yeah, I just feel like...
I just haven't seen anything really from her, so...
There's a Taylor Swift song for that. It's a love story, baby. Just say yes.
It's hard to know if she can run a final when I just haven't seen anything from her this season.
So what I've seen from her...
There's not enough tape, Rick.
I've seen she's got great endurance. We saw it last season in Ride or Dies with Nelly. She never fucking slowed down. She was with him stride for stride. She's good at puzzles, and that's like 65% of the fucking final there.
That's fair.
So,
as long as there's nothing like strength, she'd probably have like...
Or swimming. Not to be mean, but she hasn't been very strong into water.
Yeah, she's partnered with Nelly.
That's right. And she might not make it because she's part of that big alliance, and if it blows up, she might be a casualty.
Well, and she's one of those 4 names in that list. So
yeah, who knows?
We'll see.
And shout out to I think my original preseason pick was not just because he was my favorite, but also I really do think Ed is the one person that if this was like the final started tomorrow and you guys all just run like an actual individual race, I think Ed's the one person who could beat Horacio and like straight up just you guys go run the final and we'll time it and see what happens. There's no partners, there's no nothing. I think Ed would finally get to. He's kind of shown, but I think people, because his personality and how goofy he can be, people still don't take serious that he's brilliant. And like they hear him in confessionals on the first season of this season be like, I'm an engineer and like this, that, and the other. And they see him do the puzzles and stuff in the dailies and still don't compute like, no, like he's like really freaking smart and like really analytical. And it's going to be him and Kylan as the two that like have the big advantage in the puzzles over, it seems, maybe everyone else in the house. I don't know that I've picked out anyone else that has shown like like I'm above average or whatever at these. So yeah, shout out to my guy Ed because I just love him and the whole Easton family so much.
I just had that conversation. Like,
I want Tammy to have a challenge champion for a son.
Yes, Circle. Go check it out if you haven't. Well, guys, that pretty much wraps it up for us. I know we've been on here for almost 3 hours now, which is about par for any time we have Jacob on because we're going to dive in deep on all of this shit.
Oh, yeah. We got to utilize the time we have with the historian. So.
Exactly. With that being said, if you have not, go find the Challenge Historian. We'll have it linked below. Go check him out on Apple, Spotify, wherever you consume podcasts. Also check out Survivor Historian with him and Tony Stats and Info Lance. It's one of the 2 podcasts that we recommend the most are yours. Outside of our own, of course. But we'll have all of that linked, including the Challenge Historian Jacob's Instagram, so you can follow him online as well.
Yes.
And then...
I don't post, but I DM.
Do it. If you got questions, he's got answers about this. I mean, he's got a whole stat sheet. And look, we haven't talked about it at all, but I'm going to bring this up right now. Drew Engelman?
Angelman.
Angelman.
Oh, don't think I forgot. Me and Corrina got a showdown coming someday.
It's going to happen. And this is going to be the Rumble in the Jungle, the Thrilla in Manila.
Oh my God.
The challenge trivia competition of fans. Because I watched Jacob's episode. I've watched your episode. And no offense to the people you're going against. I think you went against Corey Lay, too.
I did.
It wasn't close on either one of your guys' competitions. So I'm waiting to see how this goes. And I'm very excited.
Hopefully
if
we
Drew
do
doesn't put it together, I don't know. I don't want to put him on the clock, but
We'll do
maybe
it.
this calendar year, then I think we just have to go one-on-one here, and all of your 37 hosts can ask questions, and it'll be great.
Yeah.
We'll do.
I agree.
We'll do the around the horn, but it'll be trivia based between you two, and I'll give you guys skulls based on how well you do.
There you go.
yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah, so
We'll figure it out.
we'll get there.
Maybe we'll invite Kylan, the one cast member who did his homework this season. Kylan and Troy.
Right.
And Troy,
Ooh.
last season's one homework doer.
Yeah, and we could make it happen. So with that being said, for myself, Ricky Hayes, my beautiful wife, Corrina Hayes, for Tony, Stats and Info Lance, for Katie, Cardigan Pahura, and of course, Jacob, the challenge historian Hollabaugh. We want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. We've had an absolute blast doing this episode. We hope you guys enjoyed listening to it. And if you did, make sure you go ahead and click those 5 stars, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, or give us the thumbs up on YouTube, and make sure you're subscribed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we love y'all. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week.
Later.
Go Blue.
Oh, bye.
Bye.